And I think that's enough calming, beautiful music to prepare everyone's blood pressure for what we're about to see. After I saw this for the first time, I realized I couldn't just let it slide, but I couldn't validate doing a whole video about it, so now we're here.
Take the next round.
Okay, so can I respond to your submissions, because I wanted to directly respond. I was actually thinking about this coming here because I thought that it was going to be one of the
I can't wait.
The coming questions. How do we even start to decolonize science? Because
Yes,
science
please.
is true because it is science.
Explain.
And, what can you do? And
Yes, how do we
my response to that
decolonialize
was,
science?
If I personally were committed to enforcing decolonization, science as a whole is a product of Western modernity, and the whole thing should be scratched off, especially in Africa. So if you want practical solutions.
There's your answer. No science.
So how to decolonize science? We'd have to restart science from, I don't know, an African perspective, from our perspective of how we've experienced science. For instance,
African science.
I had a question for all the science people is, there's a place in KZN, and they believe that through the magic, the black magic, you call it black magic, they call it witchcraft, others, that you are able to send a lightning to strike someone.
Simon Moon is
So
soon.
can
He's
you
the next
explain
account
that
I'm going to use.
scientifically? Because it is something that happens.
Yeah, oh, do not resist. Do not resist. If you say that it's not true, you're fucked. No, let the one with the dyed dreadlocks take control. If you see dyed dreadlocks, run.
I need to address you directly. When we started this, we agreed on certain house rules.
Okay.
And by you doing that, you're disrespecting the sacredness of the space.
You see, pure tribalism. We're returning back in time. We're moving backwards, guys. That's what they want.
And so I'd like to ask you to first please apologize to the panel directly. And then number two, understand the rules that we went by in this space. Because it's going to be very problematic. When we started, this is not an antagonizing space. And so
Well, that's debatable. You just proclamated the destruction of science because it isn't African enough, so consider, dear.
what you're trying to do is collapse the space and make it antagonizing, which we will not
You're trying to collapse science, so I'm with them.
allow. This is a progressive space for people to say their opinions. And we have noted how those opinions are going to be laid out. So I would like you to first apologize and then go on and agree to abiding by the rules of the space. Otherwise,
It's just about control.
if you're not willing to do that, I'd please ask you to remove yourself from the space. But those are the rules.
It's just
of-
further
of
proof
the
this is all about control.
Okay, very sorry to.
Okay, and you agree to abide by the rules of the space. Thank you. Please carry on.
So I will finish. See, that very response is the reason why I am not in the science faculty. I did science throughout my high school years, and there was a lot of things that I just, but it's fine. But
There's a lot of things I didn't understand, so since I'm too dumb to understand it, we get this.
Western modernity is the direct antagonistic factor to decolonization, because Western knowledge is totalizing. It is saying
Yeah.
that it was Newton and only Newton who knew or saw an apple falling, and then out of nowhere decided that gravity existed and created an equation, and that is it. For the wherever people
Do you hear how crazy these people are? Do you hear how mad she is? This is a crazy person who, because they do not understand how this works, is rambling about how science shouldn't exist. Why do we let these people in schools?
knew Newton or not, or whether whatever happens in Western Africa, Northern Africa, the thing is, the only way to explain gravity is through Newton, who sat under a tree and saw an apple fall. So
No, that is not the case, and you are retarded.
Western modernity is the problem that decolonization directly deals with, to say
It sounds to me like Western Africanism is the problem.
that we are going to decolonize by having knowledge that is produced by us, that speaks to us, and that is able to accommodate knowledge from our perspective.
Just go back to living in the huts like you clearly want. This is what you desire. Get rid of your all polyester clothes and your hair dye and go live in the fucking woods again. How is this hard? Be gone.
So if you're saying there that you disagree with her approach, it means that you are vested in the Western and Eurocentric way of understanding, which means you yourself still need to go back internally, decolonize your mind, come back and say,
No thank you. You go live on your island or little fucking strip of shit land. Go do that. Don't tell me to decolonize my mind.
how can I re-look at what I've been studying all these years? Because Western knowledge is very pathetic, to say the least. I, from a decolonized perspective, believe we can do more as new knowledge producers, as people who are given the ability to...
These people are retarded.
Is that people say we do when we think or rationalize.
If you listen to these people and believe this cunt, you deserve whatever you get. And frankly, I will gladly break off and create an isolated society away from these dumb fucks.
So, decolonizing the science would mean doing away with it entirely and starting all over again to deal with how we respond to the environment and how we understand it. Thank you.
Retarded people. Retarded people newspeak. Fantastic. Well done. Well, this has already set me on edge. Awesome. I didn't watch this all the way through beforehand. And already I wish a pipe bomb had gone off in this building. So, next. Begin! Defunct company, go! Samuel Goldwyn doesn't exist anymore, does it? This is a defunct company. Roadside attractions. I don't think one of these production companies still exists. Holy fuck.
It's newsreel films.
Hey there, bud. Hey there, bud. The overdone 1950s voice is my shtick.
Presents exciting news. Is the divorce over? Are spirit and
Hey, there was a fat white bitch on that panel, and I'd just as happily watch her go.
science tying the knot once more? Are the church and the laboratory saying the same thing? Out of the misty ages of antiquity, the quest for the divine and the quest for knowledge about the universe marched hand in hand.
Oh,
Ancient
God.
Sumer, there was a god of astronomy, a god of horticulture,
This is gonna
a
hurt.
god of irrigation, and the temple priests were the scribes and technologists investigating these fields of knowledge. Ancient Greece, philosophers.
How do we go? Are we going back? Did we start with the church and we're working back? That's weird.
Asking the questions of why are we here, develop the theory of the atom, celestial movements, and human ethics. Medieval Europe, the Western Church arose to a position of supreme power, kingmaker, landowner, and purveyor of the truth. The church took it upon themselves to be the one knower of everything. The dogma.
Well, quite
was
briefly,
law.
but sure.
Yet science had moved forward and now challenged the dogma that the Earth was the center of the universe.
Indeed.
Copernicus, Bruno, and Galileo all felt the heavy hand of the church. The tragedy. Unable to suppress science anymore, the church and science divided up knowledge and human endeavor. Descartes invented dualism. The
Oh, Descartes, why'd you do this to us?
church had the unseen, science the seen, and materialism was born. An uneasy truce. Scientists were no longer being bound, and they reacted with a vengeance. All the unseen is fantasy, delusion. We are strictly little machines
Oh,
running in a
God.
predictable machine universe, governed by strict immutable laws.
Ironically, this is called like the truth of quantum physics or some such shit. But realistically speaking, quantum physics actually pushes more towards determinism than away from it, so pain.
The church pushed back. Soulless scientists
Oh,
were condemned.
we're going in the shallows with others.
Darwin
Uh-oh.
countered. The creator is nothing, nowhere. We are random mutations, simply a carrier of TNA's relentless quest for more in a meaningless universe. And meanwhile, both science and religion were hitting the wall. If everything was mechanistic and God was the holy creator, then what were we humans supposed to do? Science dug
What?
ever deeper into a
What is this starting out to put you in the mindset or what? What the fuck is this?
dead universe and stumbled upon and unlocked a mystery.
A mystery.
In tiny corners of space and
Sick.
time, scientists found unfathomable energy and mind-numbing mysteries. Mysteries that suggest we are all connected. That the physical
Look, I know I'm supposed to be high for this to work, and I'm really, really high, and it still isn't working.
The physical universe is essentially non-physical. Time and space are just constructs of this non-materialness.
Yeah, this is an old movie. We've actually moved past this already.
And today, renegade scientists are meeting with religious leaders. Conferences pushing forward a meeting of science and spirit are springing up. As the 20th century blew open the doors of a mechanistic view, will the 21st century blow down the iron wall between the church and laboratory?
Do you see? Do you see why I chose this for us? They were paired intentionally.
This is your Is News Real reporter, signing off.
Yes, this is questioning whether science should even be, basically. It's like, well, science, it doesn't really tell you anything once you get down to what thing is. I mean, once we're past, like, functioning stuff. Seriously, it's all music and visuals over this stuff. It's pretty funny.
Go is really how much do you want to discover about your true nature?
How high am I supposed to be? Because it still isn't working.
Alice went down the rabbit hole where she met the Mad Hatter. Hatter was mad, and the idea was you want to get out of the rabbit hole after you've gone in. So there's two stages to science. There's the crazy part where you go down the rabbit hole, and then there's the part where you check the craziness of your ideas against a rigorous, strict, straitjacket-like process.
I think the interesting thing about
It's like we need to move science past science.
science, the interesting thing about physics
We'll have
is that
post-science.
it is a
It'll be fine.
genuinely new and novel way of trying to come to grips with the world. I think the experimental method, which is important to physics, is a very different business from the method of revelation or the method of meditation or something like that. I don't think it's true that, for example,
You were right.
adherents
I
of,
concede,
say,
Wolverine. You were completely
Buddhism,
correct.
could imagine changing their beliefs based on the outcomes of some experiments people do with electrons.
Why this apparent rift between the church and science, or between science and religion,
Nice
emerged
green
today.
screen, dude.
I think the roots of that are very deep, because it probably goes back to a conviction that some of the books of the scriptures, like the book of Genesis, which deals with the beginnings, is actually telling us about the origins of the world. Now, in
Have you considered, friend, that maybe, just maybe, part of the grudge being held is the persecution of science, or no?
fact, any biblical scholar will tell you, and this is not news, that the book of Genesis was never meant to be about the origins of the world. But many churchmen believed that in the book of Genesis you had actual sort of live news, like CNN, about the beginnings of creation. And therefore you had many people down through the ages, like the famous Archbishop James Ussher in Ireland in 1650, who calculated all the ages of the patriarchs back along and worked out to his own satisfaction that the creation of the world occurred in the year 4004 BC on the 17th
That's
of
where
September
we get young Earth
at 9 o'clock
creationists.
in the
Thank
morning.
you. Yeah, thank you. On a Wednesday or something. Yeah, we needed all that
I
detail.
think that there must be a scientific
Oh, sweet. Finally, we're not in front of a green screen. Sick. He's actually out in the desert.
explanation for spirituality. I don't think there's been a good one until recently. To me, the only one that makes sense is that proto-consciousness, platonic values, goodness, truth, exist at this fundamental level of space-time geometry, which can influence our actions if we're
How do you
open to
not
them.
understand that all that is
And it
just
interconnects us
observational?
to
All of it
other
is,
beings, to the
obviously.
universe at large.
Yeah, this is a thing that says we should merge religion and science. How can you be out? You can't quit. What are you talking about? That defeats the purpose. Madman.
It's time to get wise.
See? What the bleep? Down the rabbit hole.
That we live by.
Whoop whoop.
And science has told us a very bleak story. It's told us that
Why is it always this? Why do you always make it negative? It isn't negative.
we're some sort of genetic mistake, that we have genes that use us basically to move on to the next generation, and that we randomly mutate. It's said that we are outside of our universe, that we're alone, that we're separate, and that we're this sort
That's
of lonely
what? No, it doesn't.
mistake on a lonely planet in a lonely universe.
You may not
and that
eject sheep.
informs our view of the world. It informs our view of ourselves. And we're now realizing that this view of separateness, is one of the most destructive things. It's the thing that creates all the problems in the world.
I don't think that's true. If you ever hear someone say that, know that they're hustling your ass. Nothing in the world is ever all the problems are based on this one thing. That's too easy. It always will be.
Now realizing that paradigm is wrong. That we aren't separate. We are all one. We're all together.
Hi, Tyler.
At the very nethermost element of our being, we are connected.
And Olaf.
And so we're trying to understand and absorb what
this is
are
what
the
the bleep.
implications of that. What does this really mean to me in my life?
We need a new spiritual milieu. We need a new spiritual way of understanding the nature of what it is to be a human being. Because the old ways, the old...
Let us create spirit science.
mythologies, the old monarchy, king, god, versus the old lawful scientist way of doing everything are dead. They need to be buried. We need a new realm, a new vision. And
See?
I think quantum physics, if any...
We went from tear down or fall or science must fall or whatever to this. They're basically saying the same thing.
thing could help us get a step up in the right direction.
I think the key aspect of the new paradigm, at least in medicine, which is my little piece, is that consciousness is real and has an impact.
We have to go beyond our senses to create a new paradigm.
It may very well be that what's going on inside of you, in your brain, in your nervous system, in your nature of observation, how memory works, how mind works, it may very well be that what is happening there is some kind of observer-matter interrelationship, which is indeed
good,
making
excellent,
things real
yes.
for you, affecting how you perceive reality.
Sweet, no, you can't do this on marijuana. It's just straight out LSD.
The reality out there, you know, you're not changing big chairs and big trucks and bulldozers and rockets.
Oh, there's all kinds of minor special effects in this, dude.
But you're changing how you perceive things and maybe how you think about the things, how you feel about things, how you sense the world.
The infinite information that the brain is processing every single second tells us that there's more to the world than we're perceiving.
It doesn't, though. It doesn't tell us that at all.
Every single time we're immersed in an experience with our senses, seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling, as we're immersed centrally in our reality.
We know nothing about reality, and all of our sense of so-called reality out there is filtered through our sense organs.
The brain processes 400 billion bits of information a second, but we're only aware of 2,000 of those.
The rest of it's magic.
Reality is happening in the brain all the time.
No. You're talking about motor inputs, all kinds of stuff.
You should try it. How do I know what I'm doing? I and the vase.
Oh yeah, I remember this. She's fucking deaf.
Hey, might help your work too. I lived through my eyes.
See? It's a difference in perception.
Acting in reality. Not just some nebulous, nothing, touchy-feely world of shifting whatevers. If it's real, I want to see it.
Ooh.
The eyes are.
Is she gonna experience a character arc in this documentary in big quotes?
And they're storing it, but they're not.
Cool
you're not
background.
really able to.
Is that a CRT? When was this made? Is that his screensaver on an old CRT? Where are we? What era is this?
Actually put it all together, so in some sense
I don't trust you if you still have that phone and that computer.
it requires the editor's table to really put the whole thing together, to put the movie together of what your life and your world is actually about.
If I get out of bed in the morning, okay, and I suddenly decide to take very seriously the claim, which is surely a true claim, that I don't know for sure if my eyes are working correctly, okay? So that for all I know, even though it looks like there's a stable floor.
This isn't new to anybody who's dosed.
By the side of my bed, there might be a cliff or something like that, okay? If I am unable to order those possibilities in terms of probabilities that I assign to them, then I'm not going to get out of bed.
That's
Seems
a
to me
fact.
I'm paralyzed in the most literal sense of the word.
Yeah, what he's describing is something that LSD heads have gone through, where you're on a couch and you can't get off because you don't really believe that you're seeing the right thing. And you could be in great danger. And the chemicals in your brain are shooting around at a very fast pace, and that causes you to think you are in danger, and that your eyes are misperceiving. So you won't get off the couch. It happens all the time.
Okay, I'm not, I'm going to have no idea how to literally take the next step. It's definitely the case that we know that my eyes might in principle be deceiving me at any moment. We've had experience of people before, subject to hallucinations, and even if we didn't, we don't know how to prove as a fundamental matter that our eyes never deceive us. That's absolutely right.
And?
But when we make the decision
This is
to get
tier
out of
1
bed in the
philosophy
morning,
class shit.
we
Why
are
are we doing that?
assigning probabilities to the various hypotheses compatible with my seeing a floor by the bed.
Yes.
One hypothesis
And we've been
is
doing
there
that
really
since
is a floor
childhood.
there, and that's why I'm seeing it. Another hypothesis is my seeing the floor is a hallucination and there's a cliff there. By getting out of bed in the morning, you endorse one of those hypotheses as more likely than another.
Well, ultimate reality, I think, it very frequently depends a lot on how a person perceives it and what they actually think is the real reality of our world.
The brain is processing
Yes, and the people that don't agree are called schizophrenics.
400 billion bits of information, and our awareness is only on 2,000. That means reality is happening in the brain all the time. It's receiving that information, and yet we haven't integrated it. But if we're given knowledge and information outside of convention, outside the box of convention, or say we merge quantum physics and neurophysiology, and the brain is asked to contemplate, or we're asked to contemplate on that, and examine the what-ifs and possibilities and potentials, and associate our knowns with our experience of what we know, and repeat it over and over again, the brain is going to start to integrate two independent neural nets, and it's going to create a new vision.
Yes.
And that new vision is going to be
It doesn't
taking
function,
a
though.
flashlight and shining it from those 2,000 bits of information that have to do with our body and our environment and time, slightly over in the dark, and looking at something new. That's called
That sounds
realization.
good, but it doesn't mean anything.
You okay? I heard you scream earlier. Was it another dream?
Sure, I don't care, Lillard. Put me in contact.
You were an Indian, watching Columbus's ship materialize out of thin air. Wow. And this medicine man kept hitting you.
We've all taken mushrooms. Stop.
Cool. Hey, maybe it was a past life, or a parallel reality, or a future life.
Or a dream.
Or maybe that dream was trying to tell you the truth. I guess it just depends on what you think is real.
It does.
Maybe you should try different anxiety pills. My pills are fine, okay? Thank you.
Maybe you should up your Xanax dosage.
I have to go get dressed. I hope you feel better, Amanda.
God, Amanda, I could be such an asshole.
Yeah, I'm glad the subtitles are in French, thanks. Meaningless Drivel, the documentary. It only lasts 2 hours and
People ask
27
me,
minutes.
Why does quantum mechanics matter, given that it's little tiny stuff and who cares?
It-
There are three
it matters
possible
a lot.
answers. From a practical point of view, it doesn't make any difference at all.
It makes all the
You still
difference.
have to go to work and drive your car and do all the
Yeah,
rest
of
of,
course.
it. From a second point of view, it actually it infiltrates everything in the world, especially the world of electronics.
So now we're
when you
in
go to
tier
the
2
supermarket and you
philosophy.
do the
Fantastic.
scanning at the checkout, that's a quantum mechanical effect. But I think the important part is the third one, which is essentially a philosophical issue. Why are philosophers so passionate about deconstruction the assumptions of the world. I finally got it. I got it as a result of looking at quantum mechanics and comparing it to classical mechanics. They present two very different ways of thinking about the way.
Let's all take a moment, just one moment, and realize this is a documentary from 2004 talking about quantum mechanics. Yikes.
That the world works, and about what we are.
From a
classical perspective, we are machines. And in machines, there's no room for a conscious experience. It doesn't matter if a machine dies. You can kill a machine, you can throw it in a dump, it doesn't matter. If that is the way that the world is, then people will behave in that way. But there's another way of thinking about the world, which is suggested, it's pointed to by quantum mechanics, which suggested that the world is not this clockwork thing, but it's more like an organism.
Yeah, this is way before we realized that isn't true.
Thing of some type, which extends through space and time.
Yeah.
In that kind of environment, what I think and the way that I behave has a much greater impact. Not
I'm
only on
sending
myself,
my
but on the
thought
rest of the
beam
world
particles into
than it would if
space.
it was a classical world. So from a very basic point of view having to do with morals and ethics, what I think affects the world. That's, I mean, in a sense, that's really the key for why a worldview change is important.
Let's talk about the subatomic world.
You know what?
And then we'll talk about what it's telling.
I challenge you. At any time, I could make this better in my brain according to your theory. And yet, you guys keep descending into madness, so explain.
It's about reality. The first thing I want to tell you about the subatomic world is it's totally a fantasy created by mad physicists trying to figure out what the heck is going on when they do these little experiments. By little experiments, I mean big energy in little spaces and little pieces of time. It gets pretty nutty at that realm of things. And so subatomic physics was invented to try to figure that all out. We need a new science down there. It's called quantum physics, and it is subject to a whole range of debatable
You poor bastards. This is like tier 1 quantum physics and you're talking about it. You poor bastards.
So, on the one hand, you had a theory which from the conceptual standpoint was profoundly puzzling, and on the other hand, from the practical standpoint, was vastly more successful than anything we had ever seen before. This is the kind of situation that produces the tension that all of the investigations of foundations of quantum mechanics are feeding off of since then. Because on the one hand, this is an acutely paradoxical, puzzling, conceptually confusing theory. On the other hand, we have no option along the lines of throwing it out or neglecting it, because it is the most powerful, proven tool for predicting the behaviors of physical systems that we have ever had in our hands.
The universe is very strange. There seem to be two sets of laws that govern the universe. In our everyday classical world, meaning at roughly our size and...
Is this what it was like to live through the discovery of the atom? I'd like to know when we first realized that there was that other level, because now there's just the subatomic level. Is this what it was like?
Time scales. Things are described by Newton's laws of motion, set down hundreds and hundreds of years ago. And they work very well for billiard balls and cannonballs and gravity. However, when we get down to a small scale, when we get down to, say, the level of atoms, a different set of laws take over. These are the quantum laws, quantum theory, quantum mechanics. And at that level, particles may be in multiple places at the same time.
Sure.
They may behave as waves, smeared out spatially and temporally. They may be interconnected over great distances.
Yeah, now we're talking about
They
quantum
may,
entanglement and string theory.
Be unified into one quantum state, into one state, governed by one wave function. And the borderline, the threshold, this curtain between the quantum world and the classical world is really mysterious. It's called sometimes the collapse of the wave function, because in the quantum world, everything is in superposition of multiple possibilities, and in the classical world, these multiple possibilities seem to collapse to particular definite choices. So everything is in one particular place.
Quantum mechanics is really the play and display of information, the play and display of potentiality, waves of information, waves of potential electron.
Yeah, they're just describing basic quantum theory in a tone that elicits kind of cool stuff. With neat music and graphics in the background.
This isn't the world of
You're not
electrons.
teaching us anything.
Potential electrons. But when you have to ask the question, waves of what, really? What is the field that is waving? Is it the ocean? No.
Yeah,
it's
this
the
is where this
universal
guy
ocean.
totally not
An
Hagberg is
ocean
screaming.
of pure potentiality.
I don't even know who that
Ocean
is.
of abstract potential existence. We call it the unified field, or superstring field. And that's what we're made of.
And
Connectivity
graphics
among
and
all
bubbles.
things
Good.
is a basic constituent of the
Oh,
fabric
back to
of
this
reality.
guy.
It's very difficult to wrap your mind around that. But Erwin Schrödinger said, he's one of the founders of quantum
And
mechanics,
Schrödinger.
that entanglement, which is this idea of this connectivity, is not just a property of quantum mechanics, it's the property. It's the property of quantum mechanics that makes it very, very strange. And it doesn't seem to fit in with our ordinary world, our ordinary experience, but in fact, it actually does.
And we're back to the deaf woman. Fantastic. Good. Scientific mumbo jumbo. Deaf woman finds a basketball.
Wanna see some
Fantastic.
hoops?
Oh, this is the famous scene. Wait.
Now you don't have to be like that. Come on and play. Look, he likes you. Don't you have time for a little one-on-one? How long has it been since you played? Come on, you got the ball. Take a shot.
Lossele?
No, my lady, not from there. It's out of bounds. Gotta be on the court to be in play.
Okay. Here's the creepy, overly wise black kid. I don't want this. Yes, he was a mathematician. You have entered reality as we know it.
Duke Reginald's court of unending possibilities.
Good God. Why is this? Yeah. White people, am I right?
Court rules.
You see?
Gotta sink the last one. It never touched you.
Jesus, this bad Matrix bullshit. What the fuck is this?
And it's not solid. This ball is mostly empty.
Well,
We were all taught in school
congratulations.
that the world is made of stuff, of matter, of mass, of atoms. Atoms make up molecules, molecules make up materials, and everything is made of that. But atoms actually are mostly empty. For example, if this ball were the
Again, this was
nucleus
novel
of
at
an
some
atom,
point, but we've
a
all heard
proton
this
in a
since like middle
hydrogen
school
atom,
now,
for
so
example,
consider.
then the electron circling this, which would describe the outer limits of that atom, would be out by that mountain over there, roughly 20 miles
Yes.
away. And everything in between is empty.
Uh-huh.
In fact, the universe is mostly empty.
This
However,
is
when we go
really
down in
mind-blowing if
scale,
you're fucked up. Go on.
in the emptiness, we eventually come to a level, the fundamental level of space-time geometry, the fine basement level of the universe, where there's information, there's a pattern. It's called the Planck scale, and it's the fabric of the universe. And at that level, there's information that's been there since the Big Bang. So most of the universe, even of matter, is actually empty.
Most people think that the vacuum is empty. But for internal consistency of quantum mechanics and relativity theory, there is required to be the equivalent of 10 to the 94
This will be the new permanent date. I will always be streaming at this time.
grams of mass energy, each gram being E equals mc squared kind of energy. Now that's a huge number, but what does it mean practically? Practically, if I can assume that the universe is flat,
Uh-huh.
and more
That's one way to do that.
astronomical data is showing it's pretty darn flat. If I can assume that, then if I take the volume or take the vacuum within a single hydrogen atom, that's about 10 to the minus 23 cubic centimeters. If I take that amount of vacuum and I take the latent energy in that, there is 1 trillion times more energy there than in all of the mass of all of the stars and all of the planets out to 20 billion light years.
Sick.
That's big. That's big. And if consciousness allows you to control even a small fraction of that, creating a Big Bang is no problem.
Organizations like NASA, British Aerospace are all trying to tap into this incredible, unimaginably large energy sea. And they feel if they can tap this, we can travel to different galaxies. So they understand that in empty space, there is this unbelievable energy.
Is there, though?
Major
That's just you just made that assertion.
basic idea that quantum physics implies, which makes us understand this or even think about this new paradigm, the thing which is that there's this underground, there's got to be a realm of existence which cannot be ever touched on or seen, which bubbles into the existence giving rise to our understanding of the world.
Neat graphic, but
The tighter physics have tried to grasp onto physical reality, to understand what it's really made of. What are the core building blocks of life at the basis of it all?
Spiritual
Life
energy.
slips through your fingers.
The
You
Godhead
come up with something
somehow.
that's increasingly abstract to come to the realm of pure abstraction. And that's what the
Yes.
unified field is. It's pure abstract potential, pure abstract being, pure abstract
Suppose in a manner of
self-aware
speaking.
consciousness, which rises in waves of vibration to give rise to the particles, the people, everything we see in the vast universe.
Of course there is. There's always an after stream, Willard.
What makes up things are not more things, but what makes up things are ideas, concepts,
Nope.
information.
Nope.
And like I said, it never touches.
Yes, we get the paradox. We do.
Another strange fact is that objects never really touch each other.
Yes.
When I dribble this ball,
Oh my
the
fucking
atoms
god,
of the ball
we
and
know.
the atoms of the ground never actually meet.
Fuck me.
So nobody touches nothing.
101.
Come on, put your stuff down. Nobody's gonna take it. Like I said, this is my court. It's no problem.
Magic black man basketball. Yay. Do it! You're terrible at this mind control shit, white lady. You're fucking... Your pineal gland must be
in physics that we
calcified,
got,
right?
that
Like,
time
that's the
ain't what
thing.
it seemed to be, came with relativity. That was the first inkling, that time was not absolute, it was not the absolute ruler of the universe, that God Almighty did not say 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, 1 meter, 1 meter, 1 meter, you're in a gravitational field. Your head is actually moving at a slightly faster rate than your feet.
The second law of
Fucking
thermodynamics
mind-blowing.
is that things unwind and move forward. So that gives an arrow of time. But at the quantum world, in the micro world, the second law of thermodynamics doesn't seem to hold, and things can go backwards or be timeless.
The fundamental equations of physics have a property which is referred to as time reversal symmetry. And what time reversal symmetry means is that a set of laws, which are time reversal symmetric, are laws that have the following feature. For any process that's in accord with those laws, the same process going backwards is exactly as much in accord with those laws. Okay? That ought to mean that that milk jumps out of coffee as often as it dissolves into it, that people get younger looking as often as they get older looking, that we have the same
it doesn't
kind of
ought to,
access
though.
vis-a-vis
You've drawn that
knowledge
conclusion
to the
now.
future as we do to the past, that by acting now we
No! Filthy bastards think I'm gonna quit. You're wrong. I'll hit the space bar more if I have to. I think it was the song or something. Who knows?
ought to be able to influence the past just as much as we can influence the future. All of that is wrong. All of that comes into violent conflict with the way we psychologically experience the world.
One of the most unpalatable ideas still, in spite of the fact that quantum physics has been around a long time, is the possibility or the notion that the future can have a causative effect on the present. We believe that the past can have a causative effect on the present. I hold the ball, I drop it, it falls. Cause, effect when it hits the ground. But could the ground be the cause of my dropping the ball in the first place?
It's only in conscious
Interesting
experience that
theory.
it seems that we move forward in time. In quantum theory, you can also go backwards in time, and there's some suggestion that processes in the brain related to consciousness project
See, this is like they're taking advantage of the fact that it's even a new field of study.
backwards in time. For example, in the late 1970s, a neurophysiologist at University of California, San Francisco, named Ben Libet, did some very famous experiments. What Libet did was to study patients who were having neurosurgery on their brains, with their brains exposed, while they were awake. They were given a local anesthetic to numb
Again,
the
this
area
isn't
of the
even
skull
new
and scalp
anymore. This
to
is
access
just how
the
they do
brains.
it. But
And they were
okay.
awake, and Ben would talk to these people. So, for example, what he did was he would stimulate their little finger and look at the part of the sensory cortex on the opposite side that was related to that, record from it electrically, and ask the patient when he or she felt the stimulus on the little finger. And he would also stimulate at that particular area of cortex. Now, what you would think would be that if you stimulate the little finger, it takes a finite period of time to get to the opposite side of the cortex, so the patient would report it a fraction of a second later after the stimulus. And when you stimulate it directly, the patient would report it immediately. He found just the opposite. When he stimulated the little finger, the patient felt it.
I think that's more to do with how our neurosystem is actually set up than a time and effect causality.
Immediately, and when he
What a
stimulated
weird
directly in
fucking-
the cortex, there was a delay. After sorting through all the data and repeating this over and over, Libet came to the conclusion that somehow the brain was projecting information backwards in time, so that it did take a finite amount of time to get to the sensory cortex, but the brain projected it backwards in time so that the conscious perception was that the stimulus was felt when the pinch actually occurred.
There have been some studies which have shown that when people are beginning to move
he's decalcifying that pineal gland.
a hand or beginning to say something, that there's actually activity in the brain and certain nerve cells of the brain even before they become consciously aware of what they're trying to do.
I know it seems to me that I often do things and then decide a fraction of a second later what to do, but I've already done them.
I'll be late.
What? Because you're getting old, man.
What's the matter? Remember, it's empty.
Yeah, we went inside this man's skull while he was awake and actively manipulated it. And because the human brain was never designed for that, it did something different than we expected.
How do you know this shit?
I read Dr. Quantum comics.
Oh God, no!
Kid stuff, but I know it's real. That's how I do my magic on the court.
Feel the pain. Feel the used car commercial.
School isn't really the way it is, and that our
Holy
senses are
shit.
playing tricks on us. You just gotta wonder, what is this reality that we find ourselves in? Quantum physics says
Abstract
we're all just
nothingness.
waves of information. Do I believe that? I hope so. Yikes!
That's how I do my magic on the court.
Yeah, I always choose the Wonder Boy first.
It was a setup the whole time.
Well, Dr. Quantum says everybody's got it. Everybody's doing it. Doing it constantly. Each and every time you look.
And here we are, the granddaddy of all quantum weirdness, the infamous double slit experiment. To understand this experiment, we first need to see how particles, or little balls of matter,
Yes.
if we randomly shoot a small object, say
They're going to completely pedanticize this, aren't they?
a marble, at the screen, we see a pattern on the back wall where they went through the slit and hit. Now, if we add a second slit,
Look at the self-promotion in the background.
we would expect to see a second band duplicated to the right. Now, let's look at waves. The waves hit the slit and radiate out, striking the back wall with the most intensity directly in line with the slit. The line of
Yeah, isn't this the one that just taught us that light worked as particles and waves, or?
brightness on the back screen shows that intensity. This is similar to the line the marbles make. But when we add the second slit, something different happens. If the top of one wave meets the bottom of another wave, they cancel each other out. So now, there is an interference pattern on the back wall. Places where the two tops meet are the highest intensity, the bright lines, and where they cancel, there is nothing. So, when we throw things, that is, matter, through two slits, we get this.
Well, a particular
two bands of hits.
thing.
And with waves, we get an interference pattern of many bands. Good so far. Now, let's go quantum. An electron is a tiny, tiny bit of matter.
Indeed.
Like a tiny marble. Let's fire a stream through one slit.
I really hate when it goes this low.
It behaves just like the marble, a single band. So, if we shoot these tiny bits through two slits, we should get, like the marbles, two bands.
Except we don't.
What? An interference pattern.
Mon Dieu!
We fired electrons, tiny bits of matter through. But we get a pattern like waves, not like little marbles. How? How could pieces of matter create an interference pattern like a wave? It doesn't make sense.
Is this from the same production company as the General car commercial or car advertisements or whatever?
But physicists are clever. They thought maybe those little balls are bouncing off each other and creating that pattern. So they decide to shoot electrons through one at a time. There is no way they could interfere with each other. But after an hour of this, the same interference pattern is seen to emerge. The conclusion is inescapable. The single electron leaves as a particle, becomes a wave of potentials, goes through both slits, and interferes with itself to hit the wall like a particle. But mathematically, it's even stranger. It goes through both slits, and it goes through neither. And it goes through just one, and it goes through just the other. All of these possibilities are in superposition with each other. But physicists were completely baffled by this. So they decided
Yes,
to
I
meet
wish for death as well.
and see which slit it actually goes through. They put a measuring device by one slit.
Here
to
we
see
go.
which one it went through and let it fly. But the quantum
We've
world
got 'em this
is
time.
far more mysterious than they could have imagined. When they observed, the electron went back to behaving like a little marble. It produced a pattern of two bands, not an interference pattern of many. The very act of measuring or observing,
You
which
see?
slit it
Not
went
not the
through
measurement,
meant
the
it only went through
observation.
one, not both. The electron
Never
decided
look at a
to
thing
act
or you change it. Remember, cameras are magic. Never
as though
look
it
at a
was
thing.
aware it
They
was
were right
being
and it steals your
watched.
soul. Consider.
And it was here that physicists stepped forever into the strange, never world of quantum events. What is matter? Marbles or waves? And waves of what? And what does an observer have to do with any of this? The observer collapsed the wave function simply by
See?
observing.
Never look at a thing. You destroy things when you look at them. You collapse their wave functions.
We are always the observer. But sometimes we identify with the event so much so that we even lose the aspect of the observer. That's why the materialist gets totally lost and thinks that we could do without the observer.
What?
The physics data tells us that that an object itself is really a simplification for what we call out there. One is particularly
Well,
when we're
yeah,
looking at
it's very
atomic
well
and
documented.
subatomic particles or atomic and subatomic matter in any form. what we find is how we go to look at it, what we choose to examine it with, actually changes the properties of what we observe to be out there.
Is this the observer, and which is so intricate?
Oh, who is this? I know this woman.
Understanding the wacky, weird world of quantum particles and how they react. Is this, then, the observer? And even though we cannot have a quantum field without the observation of scientists who have gone there, who have uncovered it, layer after layer after layer, they're all observers.
Mm-hmm.
But not one of them agree conclusively on all points in the field, because they are perceiving the field mathematically from different angles of perception.
We don't know in quantum mechanics how to hook ourselves as observers up with the world. We don't know how to treat ourselves as observers as just another part of the physical system that we're describing. The only way we know how to do quantum mechanics as it's traditionally formulated is to keep the observer
I don't know. Her face was oddly swollen,
of the
though.
system you're describing. The minute you put him in, you get all these paradoxes. And we're forced to say things in quantum mechanics like, look, the book is doing what it's doing because of quantum mechanics, and I see that because I'm there and I see it. And you better not try to analyze that second part of the sentence in terms of applying quantum mechanics to it, because it's going to break down. That's why there are these two separate laws of the evolutions of physical systems.
Mind you, somehow this started with an attempt to validate a recombination of religion and science. So let's hope we get there.
One that applies when you're not looking at them, the other that applies when you are. But that's crazy.
There's no way that we're ever going to mathematize or put into mathematical formula this very act in which a conscious observer comes up with the answer. People say, oh, the measuring instruments, the recorder records it, and there it is. It's on the tape. It's recorded.
No, but see, that's a lie.
You forgot one part of the equation. Somebody has to look at the tape. And until somebody looks at the tape, it ain't recorded at all.
When you are not looking their way...
Oh, God. It is full Schrodinger's cat.
It's
Fantastic.
a possibility. When we are looking, then there are particles of experience.
A particle, which we think of as a solid thing, really exists in a so-called superposition, a spread out wave of possible locations.
When you look away, you never really know.
The instant you check on it, it snaps into just one of those possible positions.
It's easy to generate situations where the equations of motion will predict that, say, the wave function, the psi of a certain basketball, is uniformly distributed all over the basketball court. We don't have any idea what a state like that would look like. According to the law of quantum mechanics, that's supposed to be a state in which it fails to make any sense even to ask the question, where is the basketball? That is, according to the law of quantum mechanics, asking the question, where is a basketball whose psi is uniformly distributed over a whole basketball court, is the logical equivalent of asking about, say, the marital status of the number 5. Okay? It's not that you don't know the answer, you don't happen to know whether the number 5 is married or a bachelor. It's that the question somehow is radically inappropriate in the first place. The number 5 doesn't have a marital status. There's nothing there to ask about. And similarly, a basketball that is uniformly distributed over the entire basketball court would not have a position that could even coherently be asked about.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense, but I don't know why we would ask that question.
Is precisely that. Although the Schrodinger equation predicts under certain circumstances which we basically know how to reproduce in the laboratory, that basketballs should go into states like that. States where there fails to be any intelligible
Yeah, 5
fact,
is obviously a
any
MGTOW.
sensible
Who needs to
question
even ask?
even about where they are. And yet, when we go
Would it be
look
NIGTOW?
at the
Ooh,
basketball
numbers going
court
their own
in
way.
situations
Ooh.
like that, we invariably see either a basketball over here or a basketball over there
Yes.
or a basketball over there.
We understand the
fact that
principle
we see
you're
the
working
basketball
on.
in some specific location, as opposed to seeing it in some science fiction state that we can't even imagine what it looks like, where there fails to be a question about what its location is. The fact that we
That's
always
a
see it in some
malformed
definite
question.
location is an explicit violation of these equations of motion, and it's exactly there that the measurement problem comes up.
When you observe, things happen. When you don't, They don't.
Superheroes use superposition, with the world being potential strips of reality. Until we choose. Heroes choose what they want. Being in many places at once, experiencing many possibilities all at once, and then collapsing on the one. The question is, how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go?
All the way. Chase the little black rabbit. I mean, what? Was that not the metaphor? Did I not follow that right?
Your own mind is creating multiple possibilities in your subconscious. The superpositions of possibilities are in your subconscious. I mean, you may be consciously aware of them, but...
By the way, you may be missing the kind of gag they're playing. They're lacing voices into this. There's like 3 or 4 conversations happening all at once.
They exist, I think, in superposition of multiple possibilities, which after a while will collapse to one or the other.
Project or plan into the future or cast a thought ahead of itself.
She just transformed for a second into her young basketball-playing self, if you saw that. Why'd you have to fake it? You couldn't get a kid that could spin a ball? Come on.
But the great-great-granddaddy of wacky quantum weirdness is entanglement. If time reversal symmetry destroys the notion of time...
Look, straight up, if he offers a red and blue basketball or anyone offers a red and blue anything, I'm out. Whoa.
An entanglement crushes our experience of space. 2 objects, 2 electrons created together, are entangled. Send one to the other side of the universe.
Oh, sweet. Spaceflight now. Good.
Do
Excellent.
something to one, and the other responds instantly. Instantly. So, either information is traveling infinitely fast, or, in reality, they are still connected. They are entangled. And since everything was entangled at the moment of the Big Bang, that means everything
is still entangled.
Space is just the construct that gives the illusion that there are separate objects. Are we far enough down the rabbit hole yet?
Good. Excellent.
You now can see in numerous labs around the United States objects that are large enough to be seen by the naked eye, and they are in 2 places simultaneously. And you can actually take a photograph of that. Now, I suppose if you showed a photograph, they'd say, oh, great, here's this nice
Look, there's
blob of
the
colored
thing.
light.
Yeah.
I see there's a bit of it over here, and another bit of it. So you got a picture of 2 dots. What's the big deal? Superposition is pre-detection.
Didn't they get an object to exist in 2 places at once by essentially increasing its vibration until it did so, or am I thinking of a different...
What I was speaking about in the film is post-detection. Now, under normal circumstances...
That means you never need to seek vagina because already you are entangled with all the vaginas, thus freeing yourself from this mortal coil.
A single object, once it has been detected, is in just one position. However, there are states of matter that have been created now in which objects can be in multiple positions simultaneously, not just 2, but actually as many as 3,000 positions. The first of these objects were called Bose-Einstein condensates. And they are single wave functions, meaning they are single particles. But even though they're a single wave function, the wave function has multiple positions. And if so, well, look, but look right in the chamber. You can see it right there. Oh, I see 2 things there. You say, no, that's not 2 things. That's one thing. It's the same thing in 2 places. Tricky point here is that it's still a single wave function. It's not 3,000 separate wave
There are no true wizards, for we are all true wizards.
functions. It's one wave function. So it's one particle. I'm not sure that people's jaw would drop about it because I don't think people really believe it. I don't mean that people say, oh, you're lying. or, oh, the scientists are confused. I think it is so mysterious that you can't even understand how amazing it is. One particle.
Uh-huh.
In 3,000 different locations.
Sure,
now, if you were
that's
to weigh
one theory.
one of them, would it weigh one?
Yo, okay, guy that made the documentary. Cool being right up in my left ear.
3,000th?
Well, you can't weigh one of them.
Why?
Because it's one particle. It's just, it's one indivisible particle.
But if it's in different locations, can't you put a scale under one?
No, it's inseparable. It's not this is the tricky conceptual part. That it's not 3,000 separate parts.
Even though it looks that way.
Right.
It's
you
one
can look
thing.
at it, and I mean, you can't actually see the one with 3,000, but you can look at the simpler ones, the ones that are 2 or 3 or 4, and you can see, as I say, if you go onto the web, you'll see photographs of these. You'll see these little dots floating in space, and these are the different parts of one object. They're not separable. It's not 4 different objects or 6 different objects. It's one wave function. It's one object.
That's a real brain fart, isn't it? Because when you
I don't know
about
if that's the right word, friend.
Wait a minute. No. They're like here, here, here. So it's obviously 1, 2, 3.
No, you can't, and you can't pull one away from the others. If you try to pull one away from the others, the entire thing will just disappear. And then furthermore, you've seen Star Trek and whatnot. Beam me up, Scotty.
Uh-huh. Oh,
it
God.
all seems sort of...
Why'd you do that? That was unnecessary.
What does that really mean? But you've got to really stop and think about what that means, that it's the same object and it's in 2 places at once. And people tinker in the lab and they get angry about things and they have lunch and they go home and they lead their lives just as though nothing utterly astounding is happening, because of course that's how you have to go about it. And yet there is this completely amazing magic sitting.
Yeah, for the record, I am by no means a physicist. I did not go into depth of quantum mechanics, so most of this is frankly just gibberish.
Right.
As I imagine it would be for most people, which is why they can be impressed by it.
In front of your eyes.
Cool phone.
God, there's no photographer.
Neat phone.
Where can she be?
Mind you, she's lip reading from that phone somehow.
Aliens? Loch Ness Monster? A hot date?
We took 2 simple black boxes like this. Inside is a very simple electric circuit with a few diodes, oscillator, EEPROM, some resistors and capacitors. Basically, that's it. We wrap one in aluminum foil. We put it in an electrically grounded Faraday cage. The other we set on a tabletop around which 4 very well qualified meditators, highly inner self-managed individuals sit. And they go into a deep meditative state. They cleanse the environment. They make it essentially a sacred space using their mind cleansing procedures and their intentions. And then one of the 4 speaks the specific intention for this device. The intention is to influence a particular target experiment. Might be to increase the pH of purified water by 1 full pH unit. Or
so it's a psychic power box, or what, my dude?
To decrease the pH by 1 full pH unit. We've used these devices on all those experiments and have been robustly successful. In the meditative process, then after one speaks the particular intention, it's held various ways by the 4.
Burn some sage, my dude.
And then, so be it, it's let go. And then a subsidiary intention is stated to seal that imprint into the device. We take one of these devices with this aluminum foil, we put it in a soft package, we put it in a FedEx packet, we ship it 2,000 miles away to the laboratory we were using up in Minnesota. And as soon as it arrives there, it goes into its own electrically grounded Faraday cage. The next day we do the same with the control. The experiment is running, and basically then one just takes the device out, sets it beside the experiment within 6 inches to a foot, and turns it off.
So, the experiment was whether a Faraday cage stops psychic machine attacks?
For a period of time, that's it. Now, we learned over some period of time that there was another factor. We found that the use of these, we call them intention-imprinted electrical devices, the continued use of this somehow conditions the space to some higher level of symmetry. And we start getting new phenomena. That is, the devices work.
To be fair, he looks like he's got a beautiful property. I'd love to live there.
That is, the pH,
Look at that
which
view.
is normal, starts rising 1 full pH unit, if that was the imprint, or starts dropping. If you go 1 full pH unit or beyond, you're dead. I mean, that's what it means to a human.
REG machines, random event generators, are electronic tosses of the coin.
One type of random number generator experiment that's been conducted many, many times, hundreds of times, over the past 4 decades or so, since around the 1960s, has been a random generator that only produces sequences of random bits, zeros and ones, like flipping coins. And you would simply ask somebody to press a button, it would produce 200 bits. And you would ask them to say, well, try to make it produce more 1 bits than 0 bits. And when you take the entire body of literature, all of the hundreds of experiments that have been done, you can ask a single question. Did it matter that people were trying to push it towards ones or push it towards zeros? And the overall answer is yes, it does matter. That somehow intention is correlated with the operation, with the output of these random number generators.
No, that's not what you've proven there at all.
For more ones, somehow the generators produce more ones.
So when they talk about in quantum physics being a completely arbitrary and random process, what they're not accounting for is the extraordinary effect of human thought, of human intention.
When the O.J. Simpson trial was going on, lots of people were watching television because of the courtroom drama that was unfolding. And Radin intuited that there must be a lot of intention going on at the time when the courtroom drama is strong. So he hired a bunch of psychologists who kept track of the courtroom drama. At the same time, Radin was studying the behavior of random number generators. But then Radin found that whenever the intentions were strong in the courtroom, that's when the deviation of these random number generators from randomness becomes very high.
This leads naturally to wonder, are people affecting the world of reality that they see?
Yeah, just simply by desiring things.
Every single
it's
one
the
of us
secret all over
the
again, isn't it?
That's
what we're doing here. This is the secret.
Even if we try to hide from that and play victim, we all are doing it.
You make your own reality, my dude. Don't you understand? All those war crimes, they were perpetrated on those people by their own will. That was their reality, guys. Full medication. And you missed your train. Tisk tisk. Hello, my name is Bob and I am in Bangalore. I mean Chicago. Yeah, that was a joke, but by their reasoning, it does make sense. I'm sorry. I don't think it's funny. It's kind of off color, but
in the molecular structure of water.
Yeah, that means everything that's ever happened, victim or not, he just said was your fault. That is his line. He said, as much as we want to play victim, everything you've ever had happen to you is actually your fault.
Physical events. So he set
it's a lovely
up a
idea.
series of studies, applied mental stimuli.
Okay. This is the one that has never been reproduced. It is so fucking dumb. I can't believe they allow people to talk about it.
Photographed it with a microscope.
For
one sample of water, we drop about 0.5 cc's onto each 50 petri dishes. Then we take those 50 petri dishes and freeze them in a freezer at minus 25 degrees Celsius for about 3 hours. We take those frozen samples into a refrigerator that is set at -5 degrees Celsius, where a microscope with a camera is set up. There we take photographs of each of the 50 water drops individually. We first take photographs of water that we did not put any information in. Then, we take the water with information and do the same procedure just described.
I don't even want to address this, it's just stupid. This has been attacked left and right, up and down. Yeah, this isn't even worth, like, going over. We've seen this debunked by everyone. I just don't, I should go over these before and learn to skip parts that are overly retarded, but instead we walk.
I think water is at peace.
This first picture is a picture of water from the Fujiwara Dam. And this picture is the same water after receiving a blessing from a Zen Buddhist monk. Now, in this next series of pictures, Mr. Emoto printed out
For sure, not an advertisement for, like, fucking Buddhist monks or anything.
and left them out overnight. This first photograph is a picture of the pure distilled water, just the essence of itself. These subsequent photographs, as you can see, are each different. This is the chi of love.
Fantastic.
And we move along here.
Good,
to
excellent.
Thank you. And you can see where he taped that.
Now
to this
reproduce
model
it.
here.
Make that thank you, make
But
that
if you
same
read Japanese,
crystalline
you already
shape
knew that.
over and over again. I dare you. I dare you.
Mr. Emoto speaks of the thought or intent being the driving force in all of this. The science of
You
how
won't,
that
though.
actually affects
You
the
won't, though.
molecules is unknown, except to the water molecules, of course. And it's really fascinating when you keep in mind that 90% of our bodies are water.
You see? And we're affected by all of our thoughts. As directly as these water droplets. So keep your mind pure. The Japanese men assuredly did not do this.
If thoughts can do that to water, imagine what our
Run.
thoughts can do to us.
Run. That man is terrifying overall. His whole countenance, everything about him. Oh. Flee the rapist. Flee from the rat man.
One of the most interesting experiments with random event generators occurred.
Oh, we're back
when
to
it was
random event
really out of
generators.
time.
Good.
Some of the Princeton investigators and some of the other ones decided that they would try to see whether or not you could affect a random machine after it had run. So they converted it, instead of having a computer with a visual screen, they had a computerized situation that was audio tapes. And they had it with clicks in the left ear and clicks in the right ear. And they already played this with nobody listening to it, so that it already ran. They put that in a vault. And they then
That was
gave
apparently a famous
the tape,
actor I didn't
the already
recognize
run tape,
as usual.
to a participant and said, take it home, I want you to listen to it, and I want you to make more left ear clicks than right ear clicks with it. Send your intention to it. So the person did. They handed back the tape, and they played it, and lo and behold, and they played the one in the vault too, and they discovered that they were both the same, and they both had more left clicks than right clicks.
Uh-huh.
So what was going on here?
It changed the
It wasn't as
vaults.
though the person who was the participant had actually affected it at the moment he was listening to it. His
Jesus
thoughts and
Christ.
his attention had moved back down the timeline
Yes.
and affected it at the moment it was generated.
Most
Oh, help me.
people don't affect reality in a consistent, substantial way because they don't believe they can.
Whatever way we observe the world around us is what comes back to us.
Thank you, Catholic priestman.
And the reason why my life, for instance, is so lacking in joy and happiness and fulfillment is because my focus is lacking in those same things exactly. If we're victims, we should ask ourselves, have I a victim mentality?
Oh wow, this whole thing, I mean, I understand it's supposed to be inspirational, but read in reverse is literally, haha, you got fucked.
If I'm continually meeting
You did this to yourself.
misfortunes
I mean, on some level, cause and effect wise, that can be true, but Jesus Christ.
Accidents and tragedies, maybe it's because my mentality is basically attuned to accepting that this is the way life is, and so it happens. Now, why can I not achieve those things? Fundamentally through lack of focus.
Yeah, whoever it was that called backwards time travel, congratulations, you win.
When one wants to focus, intent, you want to be a singleness of mind.
That was weird. Is everything good? It just told me I dropped out. Everything looks fine now, though.
That's why some of the old occult teachings teach people to focus on a flame. A match flame.
Yes, we get it. You're promoting meditation.
You learn
That's
to
fine.
bring
That's
your
fine.
attention into a very sharp channel so that the energy density becomes greater.
The mind is structured in layers, just like the universe is structured in layers, from superficial to profound. And if we use the mind at a very superficial level of ordinary thought, we have very limited power. We can barely move a speck of dust across a tabletop without using our hands. So weak can consciousness be. But at the deepest level of consciousness, consciousness creates universes.
Oh, there we go.
But we always wonder then,
So yeah,
don't
it's universal control. Fantastic.
we?
Good.
We wish
Excellent.
for all of those to be able to heal
Yeah.
with
Yeah, good. Yeah, this is the theory that you can just create universes.
the touch and to raise the dead and to manifest a loaf of bread in our hand.
Why not do?
And we always wonder why we can't do that, but we can never ask a question that we don't already know the answer to. And the answer is because we don't believe we could do it, and it interferes with our agenda of our own personal addictions that define us. We have never had enough time to care for anyone else other than our own emotional addictive needs.
What are you even talking about, man? This is just a big push for Buddhism, isn't it? I mean, for all intents and purposes, you may as well call this woo Buddhists. I mean, because it's not quite arguing for Buddhism, but it's definitely arguing about the woo.
Your boss called. He's worried about you. Amanda, I want to thank you for letting me stay here.
Yeah, you better thank me. You're fucking dancing in the middle of my living room, splashing paint everywhere, you selfish bitch.
I know I'm a bit much sometimes.
Sometimes. It appears to be 100% of the time.
After Bob and all. And, you've just been so wonderful. I mean, I make a mess and, well, I clean up afterwards, but it's not really your style.
Sometimes I think you make me sane.
Me?
Yo. God. I don't mean to be mean, but I don't really care for that in the headphones.
The day I make someone sane, they're in trouble. Anyway, I made you something as a thank you gift.
How old is this woman? Is she supposed to be, like, significantly younger than the actress they chose?
Open it.
Cool.
I went through your pictures and picked my favorite ones. And it took me forever because
Oh
there's so
my.
many good ones.
It is kind of like they're lesing out a bit here.
This,
Is what's for the future.
that's for all the wonderful photos
Uh-huh.
you will be taking.
This isn't, like, nice. This is crush behavior.
Oh.
I've had a strange day.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Oh wow, we're scissoring. Oh yeah, sesame timbers.
Why are we here?
If thoughts can do that to water, imagine what our thoughts can do to us.
Yes. Let's go down the rabbit hole together.
Is there a substance of thought?
This is a dream that I'm dreaming. Just as in a dream, you dream different characters can emerge and come out to you and talk to you and meet you and so forth.
So we're all in a dream
It's possible
now.
to go to another level of dreaming where you can become each of the characters that you dream.
Go backward and forward in time.
Mm-hmm.
It goes backwards in time. And forward in time. To bring quantum information. Time reversal symmetry. Of course we can go backward in
Time reversal symmetry.
time.
Yeah, for some reason now we're straight out just we time travel in he.
All realities in the quantum field existing simultaneously.
The actual event of experience.
There literally are different worlds in which we live. There's the macroscopic
Well,
world that we see. There's the world of our cells. There's the world of our atoms. There's the world
But those
of our
aren't
nuclei.
different
These
worlds.
are each totally different worlds.
But they're
they have their
not.
own language. They have their own
Cells are composed of atoms. What's wrong with you?
mathematics. They're not just small. Each is totally different.
They're not.
Because I am my atoms, but I am also my cells. I'm also my macroscopic physiology. It's all true. They're just different levels
I'm
of truth.
physically not fucked
The
up enough
deepest
for
level
this.
of truth uncovered by science and by philosophy is the fundamental truth of unity. At that deepest
Sure.
subnuclear level of our reality, you and I are literally one.
I don't know that that is the truth that everything is based on, friend, but okay.
This gradually led into some notions that there was an invisible connection between everything. Physicists give this a name. They call it entanglement.
Yeah,
As
we've been
Einstein
over this
put it,
territory
he didn't
already.
believe that quantum mechanics could be true because it required that there be spooky action at a distance. That was his term. And what he meant is that when we have our ordinary sense of the way that the fabric of reality is, it seems like these two places are absolutely in space, they're separate, and never the twain shall meet. But in fact, it's not true. At some deeper level that we can't see with our eyes very clearly,
Well, I can't either. That's why they gave us glasses. No, I'm sorry, that
two
was
places
cheap.
in space are the same.
Uh-huh.
They are co-located, coexisting. So if we imagine that common sense, the way common sense literally meaning that your senses tell you about the world, if that's the way the world is actually constructed, then things like psychic and mystical experience don't make any sense at all. Because the whole point about psychic and mystical experience that makes them strange is the sense that there's some kind of connection between what's going on inside your head and things elsewhere in space and in time.
Yes, we get it. Did you guys stretch the sentence, your brain is capable of affecting the universe for reasons, into the 2.5-hour documentary?
So what this view of quantum mechanics provides is a way of framing what these strange experiences are like. And it reframes it from somehow magically information is getting inside my head
Yes,
from
I'm
signals
certain that
or
there
forces
isn't.
or something
Sarn?
into a different view,
Yes.
which is that in a sense your head, yes, is here, but it's also spread out. It's spread out through space and time.
Well, that's a way to
And so
consider it.
when I'm able to get a telepathic impression from somebody at a distance, it's not because I somehow jumped out there and got it, but because
It
at
has
some
always
deep level,
been. I'm
my
merely
head and the other
recognizing
person's
it.
head are co-located.
We become entitled all the time when we communicate telepathically. Those experiences are so striking. I literally can read your thoughts if I become entangled with you.
Okay, thank you.
And such things happen. There are distant viewing experiments. There are even experiments now that you are seeing light flashes, and your brain potential picks up the signature of those light flashes, what is called evoke potential, that can be measured in an EEG machine connected to your brain. And I am sitting over there, no light flashes, I cannot see you, and still my brain potentials, because I'm correlated with you in terms of intention.
How can
I
you
intend
possibly...
to be
I'd love
directly
to see these
communicative with
experiments,
your
friend.
experiences. That
Do you have some papers to show me, and maybe I can replicate the results?
intention produces me, gives me the capability of simultaneously having the similar brain potential in my brain. It was first done by Jacobo Greenberg at the University of Mexico and now repeated by Peter Fenwick in London.
Uh-huh.
The day should be the sunrise. It should be the beginning of great thought.
Instead, it brings our doom.
I wake up in the morning and I consciously create my day the way I want it to happen.
Well, that's
Now,
easy to
sometimes
do in a controlled
because
environment.
my mind is examining all the things that I need to get done.
Uh-huh.
It takes me a little bit to settle down and get to the point of where I'm actually intentionally creating my day. But here's the thing, when I create my day, and out of nowhere, little things happen that are so unexplainable, I know that they are the process or the result of my creation. And
You sound like every religious nut job I've ever known. Thank you, odd, chubby man.
the more I do that, the more I build a neural net in my brain that I accept that that's possible. It gives me the power and the incentive to do it the next day.
And we all create our own realities. And we do that because we are the observer. We are each the own observer of our own reality. And each of our individual consciousnesses
That's like
creates
really
our own
cool,
individual
man.
reality
So
in the most
if I
amazing
just
way.
smoke
My
enough
son,
weed and
Evan,
think
the
hard enough,
physicist,
good
says,
things will happen,
No, it's
right?
an additive thing. I mean, if I'm holding one reality and someone else is holding another reality. I mean, it's the Super Bowl this afternoon. And the reality that the Eagles are holding is a different reality than what the Patriots are holding. And only one of those realities are going to be the real reality. So there's some additive and there are interference patterns.
Well, I think if we
Uh-huh.
keep quantum physics...
So
and we
if you
understand
fail, it's because someone else is mentally interfering with you.
very simple for the layperson, that our observation has a direct effect on our world. I think if we keep it very simple, then people can get about the business of beginning to practice the skill of observation. See, the subatomic world responds to our observation, but the average person loses their attention span every 6 to 10 seconds per minute. So that doesn't...
Wait, would it be, is it relevant to say 6 to 10 seconds per minute, or is it just 6 to 10 seconds?
leave a lot of room for our attention span. So how can the very large respond to someone who doesn't have the ability to even focus and concentrate? Maybe we're just poor observers. Maybe we haven't mastered the skill of observation, and maybe it is a skill. And maybe we're so addicted to the external world and so addicted to the stimulus and response to the external world that the brain is beginning to work out of response instead of out of creation.
So is this the same awkward man that was seated in front of the fire before? Because why
If we're
cut?
given the proper knowledge and the proper understanding and given the proper instruction, we should begin to see measurable feedback in our life.
Awesome.
If you
This
make
is
the
a
effort
cult.
to sit down
Fantastic.
and design a new life,
And
you
how
make
much
it
will
the
this
most
course
important
cost me,
thing,
friend?
and you spend time every day feeding it like a gardener feeds a seed, you will
This doesn't sound like any religion I've ever heard before.
produce fruit.
We are running the holodeck. We are collectively, it's there.
We are running the
It has such
holodeck.
flexibility that anything you can imagine, it will create. And you
I don't
learn,
think
I mean,
so.
your intention causes this thing to materialize once you're conscious enough.
Yes, so what is consciousness?
What is consciousness?
Well, consciousness is a very difficult thing to define.
What is consciousness? Where does it come from?
People have been trying to explain consciousness and try to figure out what exactly it is.
Do you
what
have
it
the
means for
answer,
us as human
awkward Jew?
beings, why we even have it. On a simple,
man,
a
awkward
simple way of
Jew, do you
defining
have an
it, it has
answer?
to do with awareness, and in particular, it has to do with awareness of the self. That's at least
Sure.
how we as human beings have self-consciousness, so that when we look in a mirror, we recognize that it's ourselves that we're looking at and not some other person or some other animal.
And do you think science will understand that better than having to handle a hot potato called consciousness that has so much
Who is this woman and why should I give a shit what she says?
cultish religion, backwater voodoo attached to it?
Consciousness has been left out of the equations of physics in general, as well as quantum physics, for a very simple reason. It's easier to do things that way.
cool. More sick music from our lovely, lovely producers here.
Hey, Buddy.
Uh-huh.
Buddy. Come on, blink.
This is a good assignment, if you'd see it that way.
You see?
I do.
The assignment doesn't change, but your observation of it does, thus changing reality.
They did.
Okay.
Oh, God, Amanda. I mean, you live in your past. I mean, everything with you is about what happened. You hate churches. You hate weddings. You hate guys.
Consciousness, we have great trouble defining
It's
it.
almost like she got left at the altar.
To me, consciousness is a byproduct of spirit entering dense matter. But we have a long, long way to grow before we get to the stage where it is meaningful for us to ask the question, will we know God?
Can we ever know the face
Most
of God?
people think of God as that great figure in the sky with the white beard who's scrutinizing the human race from above. They see us here on earth as in some form of neutral testing ground, where we're placed by God for a period, and God watches from above, registering the scores on his laptop as to whether we perform according to his designs or whether we're offending him, as it's put. An absolutely outrageous idea. How could we offend God, the type of God that people believe in? How could it matter so much to him? How could it, above all, matter that he would find it so serious a situation that he could condemn us to an eternity of suffering? These are bizarre
What's
ideas.
your point, dude? Priest
But obviously
man.
they have a great hold on the fears and the limitations and the insecurities of people, which is why religion can play so effectively, whether deliberately or otherwise, on those insecurities. People fall into line very readily when they're threatened by these cosmic sentences of everlasting punishment.
How in the Ten Commandments could we have possibly created a mind?
Where have we gone, guys? Let's see something. Where the fuck are we? An hour and 16 minutes in. Where the fuck did this go?
That could transcend space and time. No, we're too busy keeping our emotions in check
See,
to ever dream
this is Buddhism.
of infinite possibilities.
This is a bizarre Buddhism.
And maybe
What are we
that
doing here?
is the
Scientific
ultimate
Buddhism?
conspiracy.
How is that a
Even though
conspiracy,
a given
lady?
person may have long ago thrown off the trappings of religion, they still live in the religious mold, and they don't even know it. But their whole conception of how reality works is all something that has been molded by religion. So until you get that out of your system,
Fantastic. Until
can't
you
ever
purge
let go
religion.
of an evolutionary perspective.
One of the problems with organized religions is that there is
Oh
this
my
sense of
god.
separateness.
Okay, I get it.
that
We're
it's
going for the
only
this
good to
isn't a
be
religion, it's
Protestant, or that
spirituality,
people who
I
are
promise
Catholics are the
angle.
only
We get
people
it.
who know the way. And
We
I
get
think
it.
now our current understanding of quantum physics is this understanding of complete unity, and so that we have to derive our spirituality from a sense of unity.
This is the basic journey of spirituality. When we ask the question, why am I feeling separate all the time?
Speaking of God always conjures up the idea of the old guy with the white beard in the cloud, judging, observing, punishing, rewarding, or giving commands.
That's not the God I
Once
know
you're
or
on that
believe in.
track, you're totally off the path of spiritual evolution and development.
Okay, I get it. Church bad, spirituality
The great
good.
appeal
You're
of
not
all
new.
to people who don't want to grow up but want the great parent in the skies looking after them is to ask Jesus to do it for me. If only I place my trust in Jesus, he will save me from my sins and look after me, and all will be well. Well, Jesus cannot eat my lunch for me, and Jesus cannot be born for me, and neither can Jesus save me. Because what we're talking about in this, in real terms, is not being saved by anyone, God or otherwise. We are talking about a personal evolution.
We have to save ourselves.
The only reason that there is an addiction to religion
Oh God,
is
back
some
on your
way
addiction
out
talk, lady.
of a
Fuck.
mistake.
I get it, you had a problem, but now you're like a living embodiment of a dry drunk. Let it go.
Does that diminish the greatness of God? No. It actually opens the corral and lets God be eternal.
Nice dramatic pause there.
The law that is given to us is the same laws given to those people on Sirius. Given to us by the people in the Rose universe or the I universe.
The what?
You know, and your Hubble telescope has finally seen galaxies of immeasurable beauty.
Uh-huh.
That in our heart and in our mind we long to engage. It's exciting to meet beings of greater mind or lesser mind. And where does it end? It doesn't end. It doesn't end.
Okay, I get it. I get what you're saying, but
We do not
how are
want
these
to
related?
accept responsibility. We do not want to accept our greatness. So it's very easy for any system of thought, religious or otherwise, that comes along.
I think they meant Sirius, as in the star system. So
It's very easy to play on that, to play on our insecurities, to assure us all is well, we'll all be taken care of. We lap that up. So don't blame religion. Blame our own insecurities, which has allowed religion to flourish, and which has allowed so many systems of thought that are disempowering to flourish throughout human history. That's why we can't get out of it.
I love I mean, he may not be Catholic anymore, but that is the most Irish Catholic sounding motherfucker I've ever seen in my life. So he just doesn't want to feel bad about having been Irish Catholic, I think. Yes, I agree. Tumblr rights for the Steven universe now.
I now present to you Mr. and Mrs. Richard Buck Filipowski.
Oh my God, her past comes back to haunt her.
Experiencing something in the present day that is a
Having a memory is mind travel, or is time travel, so consider.
trigger to something that is very emotionally charged for us. So now we have become even more disconnected from the reality of what actually is.
The new dream, like a thunderstorm in our brain. And its
Awesome.
electrical strikes through our synaptic skies.
Cool language.
To the earth of our being.
I mean, this language speaks to people that are into this kind of stuff, to be fair.
Creates a chemical cascade in our body that prepares our body for conquest, achievement, a relishing experience emotionally. But we would have no conquest. Indeed, we would have no relishment if we had not first had that hologram and those chemicals that made us, or rather changed us.
Oh my God, please stop. She's the worst of all of them. She's the most woo, nonsensical bullshittery of them. And at least some of the other guys were just saying scientific facts about quantum physics that most people can't process to kind of back all this up. She's just talking woo now.
Being fearful entities into fearless entities after a dream. The frontal lobe is the crowning achievement of the human brain. Frontal lobe.
Yeah, hence the imagery of the Indian poke in the forehead. We fucking get it.
This frontal lobe allows us a distinguishedness to change our minds.
Through the workings of the nervous system and the particular way that it implements quantum effects. Very distinct, specific way, not general, not fuzzy, not imprecise. That it absolutely does open the door for free will being a possibility that does not violate modern scientific tenets, and that's consistent to a certain extent with people's subjective impressions that we do have free will.
What separates us from all other species
I like how you couched that at the last minute.
is the ratio of our frontal lobe to the rest of the brain. The frontal lobe is an area of the brain that's responsible for firm intention, for decision making, for regulating behavior, for inspiration. It is the seat of what causes us to take information from our environment and process it and store it in our brain to make decisions or choices that are different than the decisions and choices that we've made in the past.
Okay.
The brain is
Is
made
that,
up
are
of
we
tiny
going to
nerve
reconnect
cells
with the
called
time
neurons.
travel element to this now?
These
or?
neurons have tiny branches that reach out and connect to other neurons to form a neural net. Each
good.
place where they connect is integrated into a thought or a memory. Now, the brain builds up all its
I don't
concepts
think
by the
that's
law
accurate.
of associative memory. For example, ideas, thoughts, and feelings are all
I
constructed
think you're
and
taking
interconnected
something a
in
little
this
bit
neural net,
literally here.
and all have a possible relationship with one another. The concept and the feeling of love, for instance, is stored in this vast neural net. But we build the concept of love from many other different ideas. Some people have love connected to disappointment. When they think about love, they experience the memory
Yeah, I think you're being a little literalist here.
of pain, sorrow, anger, and even rage. Rage may be linked to hurt, which may be linked to a specific person, which then is connected back to love.
Every observation can be looked upon as a quantum measurement. This quantum measurement produces memory. We always perceive something.
Okay, thank you. It's very important to get our minority quotas in, and now we have yours, so we are good. Thank you.
After reflection in the mirror of memory. It is this reflection in the mirror of memory that gives us that sense of I-ness, who I am.
The brain does not know the difference between what it sees in its environment and what it remembers, because the same specific neural nets are then firing. We know physiologically that nerve cells that fire together wire together. If you practice something
Oh my.
over and over again, those nerve cells have a long-term relationship. If you get angry on a daily basis, if you get frustrated on a daily basis, if you suffer on a daily basis, if you give reasons
I'm wiring my brain for suffering on the internet.
for the victimization in your life, you're rewiring and reintegrating that neural net on a daily basis, and that neural net now has a long-term relationship with all those other nerve cells called an identity. We also know that nerve cells that don't fire together no longer wire together. They lose their long-term relationship because every time we interrupt the thought process that produces a chemical response in the body, every time we interrupt it,
Your neural networks are in relationships.
those nerve cells that are connected to each other start breaking the long-term relationship. If we practice our mental rehearsal,
Do they think if they shift this guy around in the documentary, in his space-time, if you will, that, you know, he has one backdrops that's his faded fireplace, then there's one that's his clear living room with a fireplace, then there's this one with this background. Are we supposed to think he's three different people to make this look like a more full documentary?
and our skill in being able to do it will show that certain brain circuits will grow as a result of our effort. It'll get easier to do, in other words. If we accept that idea, then it will allow us to go back the next day and do it with more certainty and with more acceptance. That in itself is no different than praying. You see, there's no religious text that says thought doesn't matter. There's no religious text that doesn't say your prayer and your intention shouldn't be answered by God. But
actually, there are a lot.
Explaining how that happens is what quantum physics and the observer is all about. But still, when we can make thought more real than anything else, our brain is designed to do that. The frontal lobe, with its enormous space, is the altar in which we place a thought. And it gives us the permission to hold the thought for an extended period of time, and it lowers the volume to the external stimuli. We lose track of time and space. That's the moment we're stepping into the quantum field. That's that's the moment that now we're making thought more real than anything else. We are physically, chemically, emotional human beings. That's not a bad thing. It only becomes a limitation when we keep accessing those same emotions and those same attitudes on a daily basis and go nowhere in terms of our change or evolution in our life.
There are lots of religions that don't believe in what we would conceptualize as prayer at all. Why would you could call on God, he's ignoring you though. They don't give a shit about you.
How can we say that we have lived fully every day?
Oh, okay. So we left all the scientists behind at like the 1 hour mark. And now we're just left with the dregs. Is that what I'm getting?
Experiencing the same emotions that we're addicted to every day. What we're actually saying is, I have to reconfirm who I am, and my personality is, I have to do this, I have to go here, I have to be that. A master is quite a different cat.
Oh, God.
It is one that sees the day as an opportunity in time to create avenues of reality and emotions that are unborn, of realities that are unborn, that the day becomes a fertilization of infinite tomorrows.
Oh my God. How many books did you sell with that bullshit?
Called the hypothalamus. And the hypothalamus is like a little mini factory, and it is
Sick.
a place that assembles certain
It's your brain heart.
that matches certain emotions that we experience. Those particular chemicals are called peptides. They're small chain amino acid sequences. The body's basically a carbon
We're gonna
unit
go
that
even more
makes
woo, good.
About 20 different amino acids all together to formulate its physical structure. In the hypothalamus, we take small chain proteins called peptides, and we assemble them into certain neuropeptides or neurohormones that match the emotional states that we experience on a daily basis.
That's one understanding.
So there's chemicals for anger, and there's chemicals for sadness, and there's chemicals for victimization. There's chemicals
I don't
for
think
lust.
there are.
There's a chemical that matches every emotional state that we experience. And the moment that we experience that emotional state in our body or in our
Again, I don't think it's that literal, man.
brain, that hypothalamus will immediately assemble the peptide that then releases it through
That
the
ass, though.
pituitary into
God
the bloodstream.
damn. Yeah, I mean, you
The
gotta be
moment
dead
it
not to
gets
see
into the
that, my
bloodstream,
man.
It finds its way to different centers or different parts of the body. Now, every single cell in the body has these receptors on the outside.
And one cell can have thousands of receptors studying its surface, kind of opening up to the outside world. And when
We got a new woo woman. I can tell just on observation she sells fucking crystals.
peptide docks on a cell, it literally, like a key going into a lock, sits on the receptor surface and attaches to it and kind of moves the receptor.
Go back to the
And
ass,
like a
yeah. I know.
doorbell buzzing sends a signal into the cell.
It's party time!
Oh, nice sound effect. Nope. Nope. This doesn't have to be happening. Go back to the woo music. Uh-huh. What the hell am I looking at? Was that anxiety? Was that meant to be an anxiety attack? Okay, that's 2 no's in a row, guys. Let's just go back to the woo music, please.
In adulthood is that most of us who've had our glitches along the way are operating in a emotionally detached place.
This is literally the same rhetoric they use to get you to join cults, guys. Seriously, you need to recognize that. It's
Or we're
upsetting.
operating as if today were yesterday.
Seriously. This is the same woo they get you to join a cult with.
What is it?
Mixed.
Friend, did you just accept a strange drink? Don't drink that. Yeah, for sure. I know he's probably a nice guy. Don't drink that.
Change in itself
Thank
means
you, though.
then that we have to abandon our old self. It means that we have to leave behind our identity for a few moments and begin to speculate who we could be. To change means modifying our behavior enough so that it's permanent.
Remember that one documentary that literally ran ads for like 15 minutes? Yeah, I do.
Our experiences color what we know. So there is no
How did we end up on what I like about you?
objective appraisal of anything, because our appraisal of everything has to do with our previous experience.
Ultimate relativism. We can never know anything or study anything truly.
And our emotions. Everything has an emotional weighting to it.
We've gone from emotions being these
So they do need feminist physics.
spiritual, immaterial things to things, they're not even things, to actual molecules with molecular weights and peptides with sequences and
Excellent.
structures.
Science knows now that
Find some for me, man. Find me a Wiccan documentary.
Neuropeptides, and those neuropeptides are strong chemicals.
Well, here's the story of the peptide.
The neuropeptides sure get on top of it.
Peptides find the receptors and dock onto them. And
Docking.
stay attached. Then they come off.
Excellent.
And then they can come back on again. And while they're there, they are changing the cell. A receptor that has
I don't
a
believe
peptide
that's
sitting in
true.
it sets off a whole cascade of biochemical events, some of which changes nucleus of the cell. Each cell is definitely alive, and each cell has a consciousness.
Yeah, actually, on the Nightmare Fuel podcast yesterday, we had a Wiccan advertisement we watched. I'd be glad to watch a whole fucking documentary if it exists.
Particularly if we define consciousness as the point of view of an observer. There is always the perspective of the cell. The cell knows where it is, the cell knows where it's going, the cell knows what
It's literally
making.
purchased
The cell knows
from
whether
the
it's
same
about to
place the
divide or
Mucinex
whether
commercial
it's
stuff was.
programmed to stop dividing. In fact, the cell is the smallest unit of consciousness in the body.
I'm hungry. The cells are yelling up to the brain saying, we haven't gotten our fix today. And it's going to start sending impressions to the brain, and the brain is going to
Please don't do that with the sound effects. It's really disquieting.
start to formulate imagery. It's going to sound like voices in our head. I'm hungry. To think of a reason why we should be depressed.
That's what are you
Think of a
talking
reason
about?
why we should be confused. Think of a reason for our own suffering. And the body's going to be telling the brain that it's not getting its chemical needs met.
I thought the last lady was talking about addictions. How are these not the same?
And so the brain will then activate and start going to our past situations and flashing pictures to our frontal lobe.
Oh yeah! We've commandeered an entire serving
Oh, yeah.
Alright, this is just disquieting.
Well, my definition of an addiction is something really simple.
See? Well, we're back to this now. Your addiction to food and water and happiness and all these terrible
Something
things.
that
You
you
gotta
can't
stop that
stop.
shit.
We bring to ourselves situations that will fulfill the biochemical craving of the cells of our body by creating situations that meet our chemical need.
always happens to me. Why?
Yes, she intentionally ran into it and ruined her dress to feel bad for herself. That's what went down. Seriously, that's what went down. That's what they're claiming. Please send help.
It means that if you can't control your emotional state, you must be addicted to it.
The people that we really love are people who are willing to share our emotional needs, our feelings, whatever they are.
And she smokes a pipe.
Whether they're sexual,
Oh my god.
whether they are victimized, poor me, poor you, whether they are power, you need somebody to control you so you feel like you're in control.
No, ma'am, don't dip your half-eaten shrimp back into the cocktail sauce.
Screw you and your health codes. I am the bride's sister. I'll stick my ass in the cocktail sauce if I damn well please.
That is from her cells. They're saying this is cellularly occurring because of quantum mechanics or quantum mechanics and biofeedback, or what? What?
I want you to get out there and serve, make sure everybody has a full class. Fun. Students, you won't do anything about it.
Me show you what women want.
What is reality? What is reality? How do we know there's reality? They have taken laboratory animals.
You see, she wants to feel anxiety. You see, and she wants the ladies' room to be shut. That's why there's someone in here. She willed a person to go into the ladies' room so that she could feel further anxiety to peace. See?
It all adds up.
They've hooked up electrodes in certain parts of their brain that produce those neuropeptides. And those neuropeptides are such strong chemicals that, given the fact that they train the laboratory animal to press a lever to get that chemical release, that neuropeptide release, it would choose the neuropeptide release more than hunger, more than sex, more than thirst, more than sleep. As a matter of fact, it went to the point of physical exhaustion and collapsed before it would take care of itself physically. And that's
Yes. On that particular chemical.
really what stress does to our body. We become so addicted to the stress in our lives that we can't quit our job, even though it doesn't serve us. We can't leave our relationship because it doesn't serve us. We can't make choices because the stimulus and the responses produce the chemistry that clouds our choices.
Yes, you're stuck in this cycle of addiction to chemicals in your body.
And we're no different than the dog who lacks its ability to make choices because of its smaller frontal lobe.
So how can anyone really say they're in?
Do you see how you already debunked your own concept? Fantastic. Well done. You see the difference in the size of the frontal cortex that actually allows a human being to acknowledge what they're doing? Human beings can also practice denial, but most really do acknowledge what they're doing. But go on.
With a specific person, for example. They're only in love with the anticipation of the emotions they're addicted to. Because the same person could fall out of favor the next week by not complying.
What is love? She's willing all this to happen somehow by their own theory, by the way. I don't know how, but she is. Oh, good. Good. Deaf Lady Meltdown. Scream. Do it.
No. You got the punchline wrong. It's a photographer's joke. Go on about your,
Where the fuck did he come from?
Are you okay?
I thought that couldn't be some girl.
Yes, that is fucking in sign language, by the way. No, you see, she existed in two places at once.
The groom.
Hey, I can read it.
I was with the groom just now. Yeah, he loves Paulette. Where?
See how that wasn't the groom? It was a misperception. Do you see? You see?
Polacks, they all look the same in a tux.
Yo, my dude, some casual European racism right there.
Everybody secretly is an adventurer. Everybody loves the adventure. It's just taking that first step. And once they have the moment of insight, that moment of insight carries frequency. It carries a message. The cells of the body are enlivened by possibility. They're enlivened by unknown potentials. They're enlivened by a future history or future opportunity that may be down the rabbit hole a little further.
More,
And if they
deeper
allow
into the rabbit
themselves
hole,
to experience
please.
the quandary.
Okay, I don't know if the resolution's fine enough, or if the... I'm going to drop the banner real quick, actually, because I want you guys to see this. So, drag that there. Do you see? That looks bad, dude. Seriously, you need to get that looked at. That's irregularly shaped, it's raised, it's on an area that gets a lot of sun. Get that looked at, my friend, please. And back to our regularly scheduled programming.
And the mysticism and the possibility that when they emerge from the rabbit hole, they're a different person. And now they go back into their world. And because they've processed that information and left footprints in the mind and in the brain, their perception of the world will never be the same.
How can we say that we have lived fully every day by simply experiencing the same emotions that we're addicted to every day?
She seems like she just read Eat, Pray, Love once.
A master is quite a different
Always get your moles checked.
cat.
Another drink?
It is one that sees the day is an opportunity in time to create avenues of reality and emotions that are unborn, that the day become infinite tomorrows.
To the groom!
To the groom.
Oh, sick.
What's up, guys?
What's up, man? Hello.
What do we need?
Some boxes. Put out. Yeah, baby.
Yo,
Yes, it's a psychosomatic network, and
don't go to a wedding to hook up with people you're now legally related to. That's odd.
yes, some of us, particularly adolescent boys, are, under the control of lower centers. The eye isn't in control of the molecules of emotion. It's more, I don't want to say at the mercy of it, but these rapid eye movements that decide where to focus.
She's using the rapid eye movement as a way to, no, see, then your emotions are guiding your eye.
Are mediated in the midbrain, and you can map opiate receptors there and receptors for many of the other peptides. So once again, the relevant search command that's going on is related to finding a certain emotional state.
Well, that's rude. Cow, that's rude. She's not in your age bracket. What's wrong with you? Oh god, he's gonna hit on the deaf woman. Help me. Oh god, his cells are depressed.
She can see the fact that he wants her. He desires her. Make your move.
Okay, alright. Why are we here? What's even happening?
What about people who are addicted to sex?
Actually, sex itself is an invention to allow us to see
I'm absolutely certain you have no experience with that, ma'am.
into the future.
Wait, what? I shouldn't have paused there. What? What did you just say? You're shitting me. We can do this again. We can do this again. I need to hear that again.
Oh, don't give me that look.
What about people who are addicted to sex?
Actually, sex itself is an invention to allow us to see into the future.
I need a moment. Okay. Alright. That's fair. That's fair, I guess.
Think about that for a while.
Okay. Alright, no one needed that visual. Not a single human needed to see that.
Hello there, big boy.
the rocket in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me?
Okay, this is really awkward. I don't want this. I don't want this. Please stop. The dude with a mole and a creepy earring, and they're just... Yes. Oh my god. This song. Literally addicted to love. How could we not see this coming? Okay.
Look, a whore. Found one. Target acquired. Insert dink.
I want to hear some polka music, okay? These people want to hear some polka music.
What the hell am I seeing? They couldn't even try. Why? This is a normal wedding, but this is not normal.
No, would you leave it alone? Keep your. How can you have a Polish wedding without any Polish music?
Yo, dude.
Hands up my equipment! It ain't a Polish wedding without a polka.
Oh my. What even is this? Is this supposed to be a metaphor I'm missing? I get now that they all have IVs of whatever their particular addictive chemical thing is. It's a party in full swing. What am I looking at, though? Seriously, what in the flying fuck are we watching? It's like a polka remix for chemicals, or... Okay. He's gonna bone the deaf, I get it. That's fine. Alright, and let's bring it down.
Regret.
Get it? Do you get it? Because in the beginning he said that she should put on the blindfold, and then this she's got on the blindfold because the something about the metaphor of the overnight and having taken off her. I don't know. Just someone slid a packet of pictures under her door? This is weird. It's like, see, this is the picture she took, and now she got developed, and they're gonna like remember her night and that she forgot, and the blindfold was a metaphor for that. Or oh my! I was quite inebriated last night.
Our mind literally creates our body.
Yeah, but doesn't though.
But it all starts in the cell.
Yeah, but that doesn't. But then which cells affect which first? If they all stand, then which part of the mind is the mind is cells? So what are we?
And who gives the cells the order? The orders come from the neural net in our brain, which are based on the
made of cells.
Experiences,
which is made of cells.
And information that we've logged in there. And we use a certain box of solutions to our life.
Why'd the music just turn really fucking ominous?
That causes chemistry to take place. So in order for us to change the chemistry, we would literally have to change the neural net, which means we'd have to change our identity, which means we'd have to change our attitude, or change the way in which we interact with our environment. And every time we keep being the same person and keep experiencing the same attitudes, all we're doing is reinforcing ourselves as our identity.
I once did a little
Gibberish?
gig in a woman's prison they're all heroin addicts.
Fantastic.
And by teaching them that they have receptors for the heroin, and that the more heroin that they take, their ability to make their own internal endorphins, their own internal heroin, basically starts to decline.
Indeed, this is a well-known medical fact. It's the same with testosterone. Do go on.
And then the receptors start to become subsensitive, or there's actually less of them. So there's these actual changes, and then this new information about how less brain cells are being made, so that people get kind of, in all addictions, they get stuck in old patterns.
The person...
Yes, that's like the basis for fucking AA and all recovery programs, but what's your point?
Mental life becomes dominated by pain, such that everything that they perceive is colored by the pain. And sometimes every way that they react and everything that they do becomes all about their pain.
That's bordering now on PTSD, but why are we here?
One of the things about receptors is they change in their sensitivity. If a given receptor for a given drug or internal juice is being bombarded for a long time at a high intensity, it will literally shrink up. There will be less of them, or it will be hooked up in such a way that it is desensitized or downregulated. So the same amount of drug or internal juice.
Again, this isn't new, so where are we going?
Response.
I'm hideous. I am a monster.
How is there still so much more to this? How is that even possible? That's the question. Cells down, man! They're coming from the trees!
If we're bombarding the cell with the same attitude and the same...
That was fucking mildly horrifying. Why did that happen?
Chemistry over and over again on a daily basis, when that cell finally decides to divide, when it produces a sister cell or a daughter cell, that next cell will have more receptor sites for those particular emotional neuropeptides and less receptor sites for vitamins, minerals, nutrients, fluid exchange, or even the release of waste products or toxins. Now, all aging is a result of improper protein production.
Oh, of course, we could live forever if we just didn't feel stress.
Our skin loses elasticity. Well, elastin is a protein. What happens to our enzymes? We don't digest as well.
Here we
what
go.
Happens to our synovial fluid?
So they were headed this way.
Those are proteins. They become brittle and stiff. What happens to our bones? They become thin. So all aging is a result of improper protein production. So then the question arises, does it really matter what we eat? And does nutrition really have an effect if the cell doesn't even have the receptor sites after 20 years of emotional abuse to even receive or let in the nutrients that are necessary for its health?
Oh, fantastic. Now fat people just have no chance. Good. Excellent. What in the fuck, dude?
If we know the thoughts of a person,
why are you like this?
We will best know them by their addiction, their continuous, over 24 hours, in a continuum of what emotions they display in their body. We shall know their thoughts.
That is how we find the truth. Okay.
I hate you.
Okay. Good. Now we're there.
never, ever reincarnate to the I love you so much people.
What?
We always reincarnate to the situations of why we hate ourselves.
Now we've just gone full fucking reincarnation. Lovely.
Gouge your eyes out and become pure.
Hate you.
Free yourself by denying yourself all joy.
Good kill. Yeah, it's real hard to get toothpaste back in. Also probably true. Good, excellent. I know this is supposed to be emotional, but when a deaf woman is just screaming, it's really hard.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Not really.
If thoughts can do that to water,
but they can't.
Imagine what our thoughts can do to us.
Imagine what thoughts can do to us.
No one has ever came along and ever given you sufficient, intelligent knowledge about your beautiful self. How you
What are
work
you talking
from the
about?
inside out.
This is how you sell
Why
things to people.
do you have
Seriously, it's
addictions?
not
Because
hard.
you have nothing better. You have dreamt of nothing better because no one has ever taught you how to dream better.
Seriously, this is just how you sell books.
There's data now that when people are addicted to whether it's cocaine, heroin, nicotine, alcohol, all of them seem to share a property of blocking the growth of new brain cells. And yet, it can completely come
I don't think you understand the biology here at all, ma'am.
back when the drug taking has stopped.
If you don't see the traps, you have to go through the crap until you see the traps. Because if you don't see it, it's your only teaching machine. It's your only way for you to come to understand something new. So the universe brings these things.
Ah. Mama.
to your door. And there is learning in them for you if you are willing to reflect upon them.
Excellent.
And think beyond the rigid mindset.
Seriously, she always reminds me of someone doing like adult child play. It's really creepy. Why are you like this?
Wow.
So you just change your mind. She just drew all over herself with a pen. That's...
Borrow some toothpaste?
Okay. So she snapped. This isn't a really good fucking advertisement. She snapped.
Thanks.
Less than half an hour. She snapped. This is the behavior of an insane person.
When I talk about we disappearing, I don't mean that
She's acting like that chick from The Fifth Element.
we physically disappear. What I mean is that we move out of the area of the brain that has to do with our personality, that has to do with our association to people, our association to places, our association to things and times and events. We don't...
Yeah, we just have to like disassociate
in the
from everything.
associative centers in our brain that reaffirms our identity and reaffirms our personality.
We now have science to back up what our thoughts do and how they make our bodies weak.
Think less, your body will be strong.
A lot of scientists who are actually studying this with behavioral kinesiology and other ways, showing that thoughts make your body weak, and thoughts pretty much create your reality. They
Of course I've seen the Fifth Element riff tracks.
create what you're going to
I've
think
seen all the
about
riff tracks,
yourself.
all the
If
riff
you're
tracks.
fat but you
Alright.
think you're wonderful,
So, you know what? Joa, just because I'm a big enough nerd. Let's see. Properties. Let's go here. I don't know. It's probably in there somewhere. I'm just guessing. It's bound to be somewhere in here. So, if you'd like, I'll dump it on a drive. Just let me know, dude.
you'll be wonderful.
We'll watch it.
But most women we're compared all the time with impossible images from Barbie to models, and so we think that our whole currency is how we look and how other people are going to perceive us, and we're always up against impossible standards.
What is relative
Impossible
to their
standards.
own emotional addiction are movies and dramas and news and all the media that is so beautiful today and providing people with experiences without having to be there.
I love her sitting here in her goofy, like, pseudo-Asian shirt with her pipe. It's killing me.
And yet, that does not define human greatness.
They're so hypnotized by their environment through the media, through television, through
Yeah. It's
people
warping your
living
mind!
and creating ideals that everybody struggles to become,
This is literally about feminism now.
that no one can actually become in terms of physical appearance and definitions of beauty and valor that are all illusions, that most people surrender and live their life in mediocrity. And they may live that life, and the soul may never really, their desire may never really rise to the surface, so they may want to be something else.
Uh-huh.
But if it does rise to the surface,
Uh-huh.
and they ask themselves if there is something more, or why am I here? What is the purpose of life? Where am I going? What happens when I die? They start to ask those questions.
Uh-huh. These are not usually considered new questions.
They start to flirt and interact with the perception that they may be having a nervous breakdown. And in reality, what they're doing is that their old concepts of how they viewed their life in the world start to fall apart.
She's just doing odd things like a teenager does. Where are we? How is this supposed to have proven a point? Who is this for?
That's why very few people make this journey, because it's deeply unsettling.
Yes, let's imply exclusivity. That's the one thing we hadn't done yet. Lovely.
All
all of the molds that we have lived by have to be broken, and we have to liberate ourselves in this way. And sometimes there's an awkward period between the comfort that we knew before and the real state of comfort when we are the lord of our being, which follows that interval of chaos.
When you become your own god.
Most people, when they get into the chaos, give up hope and go back to the old, false
Friend, my name is based on chaos. Do not try.
securities. They get to live a reasonable life, and they get to die in some sort of peace, but they haven't advanced spiritually at all in that experiment that we call the life.
Excellent. We just get to watch this woman bathe for some reason.
See, she has attained true peace through changing her mind. This started about spirituality and quantum physics, and now it is about drawing on oneself and bathing.
Folks, this has been an interesting ride. I don't remember who first recommended this to me, but thanks. This is a nightmare.
We're in completely new territory in our brain. And because we're in completely new territory, we're rewiring the brain, literally reconnecting to a new concept.
But does that change anything? That's like saying if the Jews had just learned to be happy in their concentration camps and not be so obsessed with their addictions to like food and comfort, that would have been a whole lot easier for them. They could have even been happy and progressed to some new state of existence.
Then ultimately, it changes us from the inside out. If I change my mind, will I change my choices? If I change my choices, will my life change? Why can't I change? What am I addicted to? What will I lose that I'm chemically attached to? And what person, place, thing, time, or event that I'm chemically attached to that I don't want to lose because I may have to experience the chemical withdrawal from that?
This is how you convince people to abandon their friends and families. Lovely. Good. Excellent. Go on.
Hence the human drama.
This life is but a page in an enormous book.
Okay.
In which
I knew it was her
be who
again.
we are.
This life is but a page in an enormous book in which we must be who we are.
Like, thank you, dramatic read lady.
But
Jesus.
Always.
with the inherent needling of ambitious pursuit. A pursuit that takes us from the boring tedium of self-reflection, of self-hate, and to self-creation
Excellent.
of new dreams.
More meaningless drivel from this woman.
And we are ambitious gods.
She's always been British.
It's the only planet in the Milky Way that has habitation that is steeped in enormous subjugation of religion. You know why that is?
What?
Is because people have set up right and wrong.
I did say there is no right and wrong. Does that mean that it's a free-for-all? Absolutely not. I mean, the problem that I
Oh, good God.
have with right and wrong in those categories is not that I want a free-for-all, but that right and wrong doesn't go nearly far enough.
They have never
Go ahead and continue to pummel this straw man.
sinned. They have never wronged. Wronged, yes, in moral confrontations with society. But that's their adversity. That's why they're here. To wrong, to learn, to search. And use the wisdom of that to create yet greater dreams.
There's nobody keeping record.
This is worse than the closer for Hidden Colors somehow. There's even less fucking content. Because this is the closer, ladies and gentlemen. Look. We're wrapping here. There's going to be like 15 minutes of credits and like a long musical outro. So this is the wrap. Somehow they're They're working this out.
It's up there. The records are here, and I'm going to have to deal with them. That's far more painful than a record-keeping God up in the skies. So anyone who's setting out on the path of enlightenment will be absolutely impeccable in everything that they do. Is it because of fear of damnation? No. Or of the punishment of God, or because I have sinned and haven't got forgiveness? No, no, no. I mean, these are all excuses that keeps us away from the real problem. The really enlightened person will see every action has a reaction with which I must deal. And if I'm wise, I'm not going to do stuff that...
Yep, Buddhists. Seriously, that's all we're doing here. It's just Buddhism.
...will cause me to have to face it and resolve it and balance it in my soul later. That's the real criterion.
That God, or the fundamental level of reality, depending on what people describe, it really, I mean, theoretically, it should be everywhere. It's something that exactly how it would manifest or how God would manifest in the world is a more complicated issue. But I think that certainly from a more traditional religious perspective, people have kind of gotten away from God, the person.
There's been a great...
Oh, fantastic. Again, we get it. You're documenting what was already occurring in the culture, but fine.
From God up there or out there or in there, wherever.
This is the new spirituality, as we call it.
And that's
congratulations.
An improvement, but we don't want to get some idea that...
Yeah, this is essentially Aleister Crowley's stuff.
That God can be within and still be separate, which is what most people think. They think the God within is like some of those alien movies, where some being breaks out from my chest.
I don't think
God's
most people believe
within.
that. I don't think anybody believes that. I think you might have a brain problem.
That stupid sense. What it means is that in God we live, move, and have our being, that we ourselves, in fact, are divine.
What's the relation between my God self and your God self?
Oh, now we're getting to God selves. Good.
There is no relationship because there's only one God self. It's in both of us.
Yeah.
All people are divine people.
We are all God. Everyone knew this was coming.
Is it not ironic that all would say that this is the voice of the devil, or that this is heresy? If this is heresy...
They're Luciferians, huh? I mean, I don't have a fundamental problem with that, but at least admit what's going on here.
That what is promised to everyone is an imbuement with God that is inseparable.
Knowledge allows the brain to begin to become wired, and we will begin to see what has always existed, but because we live in those routine automatic programs, we're unable to see because we're processing mind from the familiar. To learn knowledge means we're learning new things, and to learn new things means we're gathering information.
See, they just put him in a new location, expect us not to recognize him.
And creating the circuitry now to begin to develop the sensitivity, to begin to see things for the first time.
Seriously, you can hear by the music. This has got to be the rap. How is there still time left on this?
Change the kind of behaviors and characteristic patterns that we've fallen into. In fact, if you've listened and have remembered anything that I've said, your physiology is different than it was before that. That is something that Eric Kandel, the recent winner of the Nobel Prize in Medicine and Science, said very eloquently at a talk. That basically memory has been encoded, your genetic structure has changed, and while we previously...
Genetic memory confirmed.
...would talk about the nervous system as this very rigid thing that didn't have much capacity for change, we now know that on many levels that isn't true. And actually there's a tremendous amount of plasticity, which basically means ability to change within the nervous system.
And if you look at the structure of the human brain in detail, you see that it's specifically designed, it's carefully engineered to experience the unified field, to experience the unity of life.
We're all connected. I mean, I think the most fundamental thing is we're all connected by an energy field. We swim in a sea of light, basically, which is the zero-point field. And I say, first of all, you get away from the whole idea of separateness, because separateness is the biggest problem of the world now.
you take this notion of an entangled universe and you apply it to human experience, because human experience is part of the universe as well.
Sure.
And then you say, well, let's assume that experience is entangled, then how would it manifest? And we can start going through ways in which it could manifest. If there's a connection with another mind, we call it telepathy.
Sure.
If there's a connection to some other object somewhere else, we'd call it clairvoyance.
Sure.
If there's a connection that happens to transcend time, we'd call it precognition.
Yes.
If there's a connection in which my intention is expressed out in the world some way, we might call it psychokinesis.
Yes, these are not new, but what do you say? Is this what's going to happen?
So you go through a list of perhaps 12 kinds of psychic experience
Yes.
that have gotten labels over the years, like telepathy. But this is really just the tip of the iceberg.
People ask, why are you so interested in the Planck scale, the very ultimately tiny in terms of spirituality? Because obviously spirituality is out there. It's everywhere.
Okay.
And the answer...
Now we're literally talking about the Planck scale, which is a measurement of quantum distance as it relates to spirituality, which is theoretically infinite. Why?
Is that, yes, the Planck scale is the ultimately small, but it's also everywhere. Wherever you go, there it is. And because it's holographic, it repeats at different scales, like fractals, throughout the universe.
I would say that what quantum physics is to the 20th century, whatever is going to be the new bridging of science and spirituality, that will be to the 21st century.
We are all creating the future. We are all creating what it
Well, yes, that's empirically true.
is outside of us.
Sometimes.
None of us are innocent in that regard. If there's something out there we don't like, we can't really turn our backs on it because we're co-creators somehow or other. And we have to do the right things to try to get the future that is best for all of us.
Yes. Again, that's inherently true, but not really related to the rest of the woo. Go ahead.
Our own personal life and quantum physics. That we are freeing and freeing and freeing our reality to ultimate realities. Yes, of course they exist. But after we have accomplished them, what then? What next?
Nothing. We must find
when do we make
spiritual
the
meaning.
shift from me to one? When are we the subconscious mind? When are we the knowledge of the one, transpersonal self?
Okay.
When
We
you
are the
start to
one
realize
being.
what your true nature is,
The
there's
Borg
no
is
question,
free.
There's no answer anymore. And there's just sudden realization. Now you come back from the rabbit hole and you start to perform in this world of illusion and wonder and magic with that understanding that you're never going to die and you were never born.
Okay. Again, this is essentially a weird Hindu Buddhism.
Events, the actual event of experience comes.
Okay, thank you. We are back to
for
the
the
Indian
first
man to explain
time,
his native
science encounters free
religion.
will. Consciousness is free because there is no mathematical description
Thank
of
you
the
so
subject.
much.
Only objects can be described mathematically, and only to the extent that there are possibilities. The question still remains paramount: who is the chooser?
Are all realities existing simultaneously? Is there
All
a
things exist at
possibility
the same
that
time.
all potentials exist side by side?
Fantastic. What a brilliant... Oh my fucking god. It's just woo. I can't believe it. That's it. Why are we in Flatland? What? Flatland is in the novel? About dimensional travel? Or are we just wooing out because they assume the acid's peaking? Is that what's happening now?
Welcome to Flatland.
Please do not offer my god
world
self a
of
peanut.
only two
Fantastic.
dimensions.
We are doing Flatland, like the book.
Only forwards and backwards, left and right.
Oh, good.
In this
Lovely.
world, there is no up and no down.
I said to Ray, where's Dottie? He said, well, she's out in line. I said, huh?
What the bleep is that thing?
Jesus.
The two-dimensional beings
Okay,
that live
it's
here
this
have
is
no
just
concept
this
of
is
three-dimensional
like oh yeah, but
objects.
imagine the next step would
These
be
two-dimensional
yeah,
flatlanders
we get it.
have no understanding of cubes, spheres, tetrahedrons, or yours truly. From their 2D perspective, my 3D
Yes,
finger
yes,
looks something
yes.
like
We
this.
get it. I've read the book. It really sucks.
What the flat Earth is that?
Imagine fearing your audience was so childish you needed to explain it to them at this level of pedantry.
Hello, little circle. Fear of the unknown. Or should I say, not yet known. It's a puzzle. If we see only what we know, how does anyone ever see anything new?
Even this is an extremely inaccurate representation of what Flatland would be like on a visual scale, so consider.
The unknown. How do we ever get out of our box? Hello, little circle. Don't be afraid.
Who said that? Where are you?
This is always the tricky
What in the
part to
hell?
explain. I'm in another dimension,
Seriously, I've seen Bible cartoons less cringy, I concur.
another space. I am above you.
Oh god.
What word? The A word. Above?
This is bad.
It's forbidden.
Well, what do you think it means?
I don't know. And I don't want to know. You can be severely punished if you use that word.
It's heresy, you see.
You a ghost?
I hope not. I just have a different perspective than you do. I can see things in a way you can't yet.
So this is how they're stretching this last like 15 or 20 minutes out. Fuck.
Oh, yeah? Like what?
Well, okay, you have a safe hidden in your pantry. And inside it, you have 12 coins, a will, and a passport.
How did you know that? What are you? Are you a
I can see through what you consider a
No
wall.
more than you. You see, since I
What
am
to me is
above
merely
you,
normal perception is magic to you.
in the third dimension, I can see inside things in your world.
third dimension? You are a crazy ghost. There's only two. Look.
So, if I were to touch the inside of your stomach, how would I
Don't.
do that?
Do not do.
You'd have to cut through my skin. Otherwise,
Not.
it's impossible.
Not okay.
Stop!
Not okay. Do not molest the globe, please.
More what?
Dimensions.
Oh.
Directions.
No. Yes, but there aren't any. More?
Pop her little spherical ass
What
out.
will happen to me? What will I become?
You'd have to become it to know.
Okay.
Excellent.
See?
Pop her out. She is sphere now. You are become sphere.
I never knew.
I've already taken the acid. There's nothing new here.
You have been freed! This documentary has
funny?
freed you.
That which we are most afraid of is what thrills us the most.
You are now free.
that has the effect of randomizing their X
Nope.
spins.
No, we're for sure not going to sit here and listen to these guys ramble for the next 15 minutes. This has been well enough, I think, for everyone. That was physically painful. I mean, at least the other ones were so bad they were funny. I don't think this even qualifies as that. I really don't. I don't think this qualifies as bad. I think this was just god-awful drivel. I'm vaguely surprised we made it through. I mean, really, that was something. As it is, if you guys would like to hop in here, this is pretty much it for me. I am going to start doing these more frequently now that I'm going to have a little bit of free time. And we'll see. I hope you guys had fun. You can come to this place if you'd like. You'll have to erase the spaces I added to drop the link. And we'll have fun there. I will drop in Man in the High Castle shortly. As it is, I have to go start dinner. So, wish me luck, guys, and I'll see y'all later. Yeah, I think watching this could do some serious harm to someone. Yeah, I agree. No, I agree. It's not funny. These guys, this seriously has ramifications in life if you behave this way. Ironically, the author of the book that I've taken my title from kind of purported this stuff. He may have been one of the guests. Let's stop for a second if anyone's still here, and we will see the list of people. What the fuck do we know? Alright, and let me do... He may have been dead by this point, and it just looks like him. Hard to say. Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least here's an admission of the crossover. So, yeah, Robert Anton Wilson was a big part of all that. Oh, hello. Yeah. Godlike Productions. Yep. It was basically first made popular by here. But yeah, go ahead and hop in there, and I will meet you guys on the Leif Erikson on SciTube, if you would like. As it is, there should be either Red Dwarf or some other painful documentary shit playing from Hidden Colors, and I will be joining you guys in a moment.
Leathers, take control. Take the helm, my friend. It's on you. It's on you to do it.